temper was worse than the stones in his hand. There was no way to pull him back, not even with the strength of 9 oxen. He couldn't just tie up his own father, could he? Suddenly, a cannon fire sounded from a distance. A shell hit the Shadow Ghost path, approaching Li Yunlong and others. The Shadow Ghost path was struck on the head and immediately changed its attack path. Look, someone is using siege machinery to throw firestones. Zhang Dabiao pointed towards the cliff in the distance. Everyone looked over and saw a young man on the cliff directing the siege equipment to attack the Shadow Ghost path. This person was Su Bai, who had previously arranged the formation. On the distant cliff, there were 2 fire points on each side, attracting the Shadow Ghost path into the valley in the middle. Indeed, this melee king with 150,000 health points fell into Su Bai's ambush, suffering attacks from both sides in the valley. However, wanting to fight back was difficult due to the terrain limitations. It could only be passively beaten. Thus, its health was continuously depleted under the flanking attacks. Li Yuanchao was extremely excited. Guard, signal the soldiers on the opposite side and ask which company it is. His subordinate guard dialed a hand-cranked phone. This special communication method ensured basic communication within the instance. However, there was no response from the other side. Commander Li, there is no response from the other side. They are probably not our soldiers. What? This surprised Li Yuanchao greatly. If they weren't his own soldiers, who could have reached this level? He knew that in the Dragon Kingdom, there was a special operations wolf team, and its captain, Cold Peak, had soldiers capable of taking down a boss of this level by themselves. Could it be that the other side was the special operations wolf team? However, he hadn't heard of any mission for the special operations wolf team in this area. But Li Yunlong clapped his hands. That's it. That kid is probably Su Bai. I didn't expect him to really be talented. This thought crossed Li Yuanchao's mind. Could it really be that Su Bai the 2 students mentioned? However, he still couldn't believe it. After rounds of artillery fire, the valley was filled with the smell of smoke from the explosions of tank shells. Meanwhile, the head of the Shadow Ghost, trapped by the terrain, had developed a scar the size of a 3-room apartment. A deafening howl erupted. This summoned special monster had its health fully depleted, its hands flailing aimlessly. Gradually, it collapsed. Experience gained. 500,000. Obtained. Shadow Treasure Chest. With 500,000 experience. Su Bai's level skyrocketed. With a loud crack, it felt as if all the bones in his body had been stretched an inch. His level shot up 4 levels in a row. Character level, LV 21. Strength, 421. Agility, 271. Defense, 16. Health, 18. 510. This was the first time Su Bai felt the changes brought by leveling up, which was a sudden stretching sensation in his muscles and bones. Although he couldn't quite describe how exhilarating it was, he definitely felt much stronger. Moreover, after the boss's death, a shadow treasure chest dropped. Su Bai had heard from his teacher that this type of chest belonged to exclusive boss drops and couldn't be obtained from any level of monsters. It was a special existence. Filled with excitement, Su Bai opened the chest. With a crack, an invisible black light flashed. Obtained, 10,000 gold coins. Obtained, shadow gem. Inside were 2 items. First, the 10,000 gold coins were already quite impressive. Although Su Bai had 2 mining vehicles continuously extracting resources in his stone sea, yielding 1,000 resource points daily, that money couldn't be withdrawn and couldn't be converted into any real currency. But these 10,000 gold coins were actual money. They say gold breeds greed. Looking at so many coins, Su Bai couldn't help but swallow. He stored the coins in his storage ring. Then he looked at the shadow gem. Shadow gem. Attribute. Used to summon creatures with equipped skills, due to shadow enhancement, quantity. 2. Inlay position. Metal. This item looked powerful. But there was a prerequisite. It had to be inlaid in a metal with summoning skill attributes to be effective. It seemed to require some prior conditions. It felt somewhat useless, but there was no time to study it in detail now. He put the items away. A group of people rushed towards him from a distance. It was so dark that he couldn't tell if they were friend or foe. As several figures approached, Su Bai immediately became alert and shouted, "Don't come any closer." "Who are you?" As he spoke, he moved the remaining 2 terrifying robots he had hidden a few steps forward. Suddenly, a powerful voice from above started cursing. "You little brat, you don't even recognize me. Have you grown wings or something?" That voice sounded quite familiar. In an instant, Su Bai remembered. Wasn't this the legendary General Li Yunlong, who had once mediated between Director Qi and Director Kai during a dispute over school admissions? His mind was filled with questions. What on earth was going on? Su Bai relaxed his guard as a middle-aged man stepped out of the shadows first. This man had a resolute expression, sharp features, and an imposing demeanor, dressed in military uniform, radiating an innate aura of authority. The man quickly approached Su Bai and extended his gloved right hand, shaking Su Bai's hand firmly. "You must be Su Bai, right? Huh, you know me? Who are you?" Before Su Bai could finish, a familiar figure appeared from behind him. He is my son, Li Yuanchao? Su Bai's eyes lit up. It was indeed General Li Yunlong. Grandpa Li. General Li walked up to Su Bai with a strong presence, patting his shoulders. Good kid, your strength is hidden so deeply. No wonder Qi Tongwei and Kai Yuanpei fought over your admission. You're truly a treasure. I should have kicked those two away back then and brought you to the army for some proper training. Su Bai scratched the back of his head, feeling a bit awkward. If it weren't for you stopping the dispute between Director Qi and Director Kai back then, I wouldn't have known which school to choose. How about this? There is still a chance. I can have Yuan Shao arrange for you to join our independent regiment's Special Forces training camp. You should train hard there. Su Bai was taken aback, joining the army directly, and even entering the Special Forces Reserve. Wasn't this one of the goals after graduation? It felt like someone telling you that you could skip school and start working for a high salary. Most people wouldn't refuse such an offer. However, Su Bai politely declined, as he felt that with his current strength, his starting point would be much higher than that of a Special Forces Reserve. So he changed the subject. Grandpa Li, why did you come out to deal with that monster in the middle of the night? Li Yuanchao stepped forward and explained the events of the night to Su Bai, asking if he had made any special discoveries. Su Bai recounted the incident of encountering a certain individual summoning ghostly beings tonight and handed over a small booklet he found in that individual's ring to Li Yuanchao. This should be the summoning manual, which recorded the methods for summoning. After reading it, Li Yuanchao was greatly shocked. It turned out that the rampage of the demonic entities at midnight was not a natural occurrence, but rather something that someone had deliberately orchestrated. He then briefed the surrounding guards, and two of them left to investigate and control suspicious individuals. Thank you. You must be from the prestigious academy in the magical city, Li Yuanchao said. That's right. I am from the prestigious academy in the magical city. I will notify your school to express my gratitude later, Su Bai replied. At this moment, Li Yunlong suddenly seemed to remember something and said, you'll be participating in the upcoming competition, right? Do your best and bring glory to the nation. Su Bai was confused, not understanding what General Li Yunlong meant. It was puzzling since he didn't recall signing up for any competition. Noticing Su Bai's bewildered expression, Li Yunlong asked, didn't the school send you for the second match against the Sakura Nation? Upon hearing this, Su Bai realized what Li Yunlong was referring to. Actually, I wasn't informed about that. Li Yunlong's expression darkened suddenly, and he scolded, what kind of lousy school is this? Did the principal get kicked by a donkey? With your strength, they didn't let you go? Zhang Dabiao, you tell the school to put Su Bai on the list. Damn it, this time. My former rival Yamamoto is flying over from the Sakura Nation and even invited me to watch. Such provocation right in front of me. Our nation cannot lose. With the situation mostly clarified, that Sangyun Ridge returned to its deep night silence. Su Bai followed General Li Yunlong back to the command center. Inside, Chen Xiao was still observing the military equipment, while Wang Xiaohu was so sleepy he could barely keep his eyes open. At that moment, two guards lifted the curtain, and a serious atmosphere filled the room. The two immediately straightened up, standing at attention. First, General Li Yunlong entered with his chest held high, followed by Su Bai. Then came Commander Li Yuanchao and Chief Guard Zhang Dabiao. The two were once again shocked. It was clear that the founding father had a close relationship with Su Bai, and the fact that Su Bai entered second indicated a status seemingly higher than that of his own son, Commander Li Yuanchao. Chen Xiao felt as if thunder was erupting in his mind. He couldn't comprehend Su Bai, who, despite being from a lesser military category with no notable background or outstanding abilities, had summoned extraordinarily powerful troops and was now entering alongside a founding figure. No wonder. As an intelligence expert, he was unable to discern Su Bai's true identity. He and the old General Yunlong chatted and laughed, appearing just like a grandfather and grandson. Su Bai? He turned out to be a third-generation descendant of a prominent family. Moreover, he is the kind of exceptionally talented third-generation descendant. With Su Bai's background, he could easily attend international prestigious schools that are even better than the elite institutions in his city and study abroad, living a life of luxury. Unexpectedly, he was so low-key, truly competing with all his classmates on the same starting line. Unconsciously, his classmates from the same dormitory felt an unbridgeable class gap with Su Bai. However, Wang Xiaohu didn't think too much and said loudly, Hey, Su Bai, with your triumphant look, you must have taken down quite a few formidable foes for the independent unit. Before he could finish, Chen Qiao tugged at his shirt, forcing the rest of his words back down. Li Yunlong saw their silly expressions and burst into laughter. Kids are adorably foolish. Zhang Dapiao, take Su Bai and the others back to school. We can't let the young ones stay here foolishly and affect their studies. When they returned to the dormitory, the atmosphere among the three was somewhat different. It seemed that Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu spoke to him with extra courtesy. The previous tone filled with slang and bravado was gone, which made Su Bai feel a bit uncomfortable. However, he didn't dwell on it. After a quick breakfast at the cafeteria, he noticed many people looking at him, whispering and pointing. Both boys and girls were among them. This puzzled Subai. At that moment, Director Kai joyfully sat down opposite him. Director Kai? You eat here too? Subai? Incredible. You're something else. This statement was vague, leaving Subai a bit confused about what was happening. What is going on, Director Kai? Last night, what exactly did you do? Grinding experience at Songyun Ridge. You're amazing. You've jumped straight into the top 10 of the grade ranking list at level 21, currently at 8th place. I knew I wasn't wrong about you. Subai then realized that his encounter with the shadow ghost yesterday had propelled him from the average level of his grade straight into the top 10. However, while his level had increased, it didn't seem to provide him with a significant boost. At this moment, Director Kai handed him a card, saying, "This is the school's Level Advancement Award, 1 million. Keep up the good work, don't let me down." Subai was also surprised. He knew the school had ranking awards that provided money and occasionally equipment, but he hadn't expected such a large bonus for breaking into the top 10. Chapter 56. Dark light breaks through the sky. 3 gems merge. Super strong attribute gem emerges. Receiving the 1 million, Subai didn't hesitate. After expressing his gratitude, he turned around and headed to the pawn shop to exchange for gold coins. On the other side, Zhang Dabiao arrived at the school, where the grade leader, Teacher Shun, received him. "Old hero, what brings you to our school? This is a notification from our General Li Yunlong for your principal. Please help me pass it on." "All right, I'll notify him." After Zhang Dabiao left, Teacher Shin curiously opened the notification. Upon reading it, his expression immediately soured. It stated that the next competition would have Subai participating. After reading this notification, Teacher Shun was so angry that he gritted his teeth. Such a student, lacking morality and thought, though somewhat capable, could hardly be compared to those top-ranking students. He wondered how Subai managed to get Zhang Dabiao to deliver a message and meddle in school affairs. Thinking of this, the just Teacher Shin casually threw the letter into the trash bin. A few days later, in the King's Canyon, Hu Yanju looked towards the valley in the distance, filled with ambition. Beside him stood the 25th ranked chameleon, Jiu Bianwu, and Zhao Haoyan, ranked 98th. This time, we will definitely win. With our combination, those little devils will surely be defeated. Everyone, let us strive for glory for our country. Jiu Bianwu added. This battle plan is foolproof. With defenses on both sides, my chameleon troops will set traps in the middle, while your vampire troops take advantage to harvest the enemies and turn them into blood slaves. We are bound to win. Zhao Haoyan chimed in. Exactly. Boss Hu Yanju is a legendary hero. Those little devils won't stand a chance against us. As the referee's announcement sounded, the second international exchange match officially began. Hu Yanju, as the commander, immediately started deploying strategies. The students on the left and right were only responsible for defense, and they were all trusted classmates of Hu Yanju. He and Jiu Bianwu would set traps in the middle for a counterattack. In the middle, the terrain was primarily jungle and hills. Jiu Bianwu's chameleon killer troops could alter their body temperature and surface color, blending perfectly into the jungle. Once the opposing troops entered, the chameleon killers, with their spiked tongues resembling chainsaws, would surprise them. At that moment, Hu Yanju's vampire army would suddenly strike, and the already battered enemy troops would be swiftly harvested, turning into blood slaves. This way, they would advance with the momentum, like a sharp sword attacking the unguarded central area of the enemy, taking down their command post. Winning this match would be smooth sailing. On the central viewing platform, founding General Li Yunlong and former Army General Yamamoto from the Sakura Nation sat on either side, watching the match. Yamamoto said, "Long time no see, Li Yunlong." Li Yunlong stared at Yamamoto with his large eyes, resembling cowbells. "Humph, you're still alive, Yamamoto. You are the same, Yunlong. But since so many years have passed, and we have maintained a peaceful and friendly relationship with the Dragon Kingdom, you wouldn't still hold a grudge from back then, would you?" "Haha, hold a grudge? Come on, don't pretend. Forgetting history is a betrayal of our nation. This time, just watch how our Dragon Kingdom will make your delegation regret it." Yamamoto, however, was not angry. He simply smiled lightly and said, "You are still as rude as before. I look forward to seeing how you will make the students from our Cherry Blossom Nation regret it." On the other side, many students had gone to watch the second international competition today, so there weren't many people at the school. Subai had a rare shadow gem in his hand, which he usually couldn't take out for checking or playing. Today, since there weren't many people on campus, he went to a deserted lawn to carefully study how to embed it using the melting magic box. He already had an inked jade gem, and later, he killed a certain individual who intended to activate a seal and endanger the lives of the people, obtaining a new gem from his storage ring, the Stone of the Deceased. At that time, when the two gems touched, they reacted, indicating that they could be fused in the melting magic box. After defeating the Shadow Ghost Path, he obtained a new gem, the Shadow Gem. The properties of the 3 gems were different, with the Shadow Gem being the most precious. Now, taking out all 3 gems, an unexpected effect occurred. All three gems resonated simultaneously, emitting a faint glow. Subai was taken aback. This meant that the three gems could fuse together, which was incredibly rare. He knew that gem fusion usually involved two gems enhancing their properties to a certain degree. Only a very small chance allowed for the resonance fusion of multiple gems with similar properties. To his surprise, having the three gems together was luckier than winning a 5 million lottery. The situation of resonance fusion among the three had occurred. Without hesitation, Subai carefully placed the three gems into the melting magic box. The box immediately indicated the amount of gold needed, with the number climbing from the units to the tens, then to the hundreds, and finally reaching the thousands. Even then, it showed no signs of stopping. Eventually, the gold amount settled at 10,000 before slowly coming to a halt. This made Subai's heart race. To fuse this gem required so much money. Fortunately, the gold he had acquired earlier was not stored in the red alert system. The amount was sufficient for the gem fusion. But if the result turned out to be a worthless property, wouldn't he be losing both the gem and the investment? After hesitating for a moment, Subai decided to proceed with the fusion. Currently, these three gems do not hold much significance for him. It might be better to take a gamble. One by one, gold coins were poured into the square magic box. This small object was like a bottomless pit, capable of swallowing an endless amount of coins. Once the last coin was added, Subai pressed the fusion button on the magic box. The entire box began to heat up and swell, with colorful lights constantly emerging from its surface, making it difficult to open one's eyes. This process lasted for more than an hour before the box finally stopped operating. With jets of hot air erupting from the beautifully carved patterns on the box, a sound rang out. Fusion completed. Subai's hands trembled slightly as he slowly opened the melting magic box. In an instant, a towering black light burst forth from the box, starkly contrasting with the surrounding blue sky and white clouds. This black light seemed to emanate from the depths of hell, releasing an overwhelmingly terrifying power. Subai's body shook violently, and he staggered back a few steps. Then, a new black gem appeared on the surface of the melting magic box. Item: Soul of the Dead. Skill: Undead Resurrection. CD time 24 hours. Attribute: After using this skill, you can resurrect nearby fallen units to fight for you. And for each resurrection, a shadow phantom will split off from the original body to assist in battle. Note: the attack power of the resurrected units is 50 of the original, with a maximum resurrection limit of 500 units and a survival time of 5 hours. Chapter 57. The Dragon Kingdom. At the end of its resources, Subai makes a dominant entrance. What a powerful gem this is. It can emit a sky-piercing black light. According to what he had learned, light refracted would usually display a spectrum of colors. Generally, when synthesizing rare items, a colorful glow would be emitted. However, the melting magic box emitted not any kind of color, but black light, or rather the color of darkness, dark matter. This was something he had never encountered in textbooks. The gem produced had even more impressive attributes. It could resurrect fallen units to fight, albeit with only half of their original combat strength. Yet, the shadows of the resurrected units could also fight as avatars. This means that with a limit of 500, it could effectively create the impact of 1,000 soldiers. In a situation utilizing swarm tactics, this would undoubtedly be a powerful trump card, or perhaps an unexpected ace. Subai's heart surged with excitement, and at this moment, words could hardly express his feelings. He placed the gem in his hand, and then took off his medal. Together, they were put back into the melting and refining process for inlaying. Inlay successful. Nice. Inside Award Medal, Special Edition. Defense 0. Special function. After wearing this medal, one can observe the attributes of all characters and monsters within a level difference of 10 from oneself at a distance. Inlaid gem. Soul of the Dead. Skill: Undead Resurrection. CD time 24 hours. At that moment, Director Kai rushed over, panting. Subai, come with me. We need to participate in the international competition. Why? My name wasn't on the list before, so why should I go? Director Kai took a couple of deep breaths before saying, stop messing around. The traps set by Hu Yanju and Zhou Bianwu were somehow discovered by the enemy in advance, and the two of them died in battle. What does that have to do with me? You were originally on the list for the competition, but there was a mistake on the school's side. Hurry up and come with me. I won't go. If the school made a mistake, why should I bear the consequences? It was personally appointed by General Li Yunlong. For the country, for glory, just come with me. I beg you. At the beginning of the semester, the teachers at the school suspected that Subai had cheated to get in. So now that the school was in such a mess, he didn't want to get involved. But upon hearing General Li Yunlong's name, Subai finally agreed. After all, he knew about General Li Yunlong's patriotism. Fine, I agree, but I have a condition. Director Kai's face lit up with joy. Don't mention one condition. I'll agree to 100. I want Qin Xiao and Wang Xiaohu to join my team as well. I know them well. Meanwhile, 10 minutes earlier, in the King's Canyon, Hu Yanju was drenched in sweat. He couldn't believe how the battle situation had turned so drastically. Jiao Bianwu, hiding in the jungle, was directly burned to death by the enemy's fiery Onmyoji. It was a sudden and unclear death. On the opposite side, a young man with a buzz cut drew his katana, the blade shining brightly, illuminating his hawk-like eyes. Your Highness, it seems the enemy's strongest combat power has been deployed. Should we prepare to defend? No need to defend, Shioji. We have already bribed one of the enemy's members, and all their arrangements have been countered. Just like this katana. We will attack without defense. Unbreakable. Strike to kill. Your Highness, I spoke out of turn. I will deploy all troops to defeat the enemy. No need. The strongest opponent should be left for me. After saying that, he leaped down from the high command center, his chest bursting with countless rays of light. Come forth, my magical swordmaster army. Like beans turning into soldiers, one by one, men wearing Tengu masks, dressed in traditional martial arts attire, and wielding blood-soaked katanas appeared. Rushing towards the center line, the exhausted Hu Yanju commanded his hero, the fearsome Demon King, to summon the Flame Demon. In the distance, a fiery meteor struck the army of Flame Onmyoji, exploding and blocking a wave of enemy attacks. At that moment, a group of soldiers wielding katanas charged from the enemy's center. The glint of the blades was blinding. Fearsome Demon King, take this chance to ambush their commander and eliminate him. Hu Yanju issued the command. The fearsome Demon King's sinister eyes scanned the battlefield for the enemy's controller. Then, with a sly grin revealing his sharp fangs, he found his target. Die. He charged forward, unleashing his magical skill, corrosive poison bees. A swarm of venomous insects flew towards the opponent. Come forth. Sixth Demon King, Nobunaga. The enemy sensed the incoming skill, and at the same time, his hero was summoned. A man with a demonic face and clad in black armor emerged from the void. As the enemy's skill arrived, a black sword light slashed out simultaneously. The fearsome Demon King's skill was instantly disrupted. Following that, several strikes landed. With a scream, the fearsome Demon King fell to the ground, dead beyond recovery. Hu Yanju was shocked to see how powerful the enemy's hero was, causing him to break out in a cold sweat. Run. First reach the command center. I can't be mistakenly killed on the battlefield. Unfortunately, his thoughts couldn't keep up with the speed of his legs. A cold flash passed by, and Hu Yanju's head traced a 360-degree arc in the air, landing steadily in the enemy commander's hands. Ahahaha, Li Yunlong. It looks like your side is destined to lose this match. Yamamoto on the viewing platform couldn't help but laugh. Indeed, our students from Sakura country are superior. It's quite a challenge for you to pit such a strong team against our third-rate team. Li Yunlong's expression darkened as the second corpse was brought up. The body was Hu Yanju's, with his head and torso pieced together and placed before Yamamoto. Yamamoto displayed a sympathetic expression. Oh dear, foolish child. Why step onto the field when your strength is lacking? Notify the Mitsui Consortium to provide a substantial compensation to this child's family. This was already the second corpse. The first was that of the burned Kubo Hyugu. Nearby, the guard Zhang Dabiao couldn't hold back his anger at Yamamoto's feigned sympathy and shouted, I curse you, Yamamoto. In the international competition, friendship comes first and competition second, yet you're deliberately allowing your students to kill, aren't you? Yamamoto responded innocently. How can you say that it was intentional? In the heat of battle, casualties can happen at any moment, and every student has signed a life and death agreement. Engaging in such warfare is not something to take lightly. Li Yunlong also stopped Zhang Dabiao, his heart filled with suspicion. Why hadn't he seen Su Bai on the battlefield? He had witnessed the child's strength firsthand, though he might not win the battle single-handedly. Taking on a few enemies should be no problem. This was indeed puzzling. So he turned to the frazzled principal beside him and asked, where is Su Bai? Who? Su Bai? Oh, I remember now. This student just entered the top 200 and ISNT qualified to participate in this battle. Upon hearing this, Li Yunlong's anger flared up. What kind of nonsense university is this? They can't even distinguish between good and bad students. He really wanted to grab the principal and give him a piece of his mind. But in such an international setting, he suppressed his rage and continued. I asked Zhang Dabiao to send a message to add his name. Didn't you add him? The principal looked completely bewildered at this question. He thought to himself, when did I receive such a message? Seeing the principal's confused expression, Li Yunlong turned to his bodyguard, Zhang Dabiao. Zhang Dabiao took the initiative to speak up. Captain Li, I assure you it was delivered. I gave it to the grade leader, a teacher with the surname Shun. They promised to pass it on to the principal. Upon hearing this, the principal could no longer hold back his frustration and cursed the grade leader, teacher Shun, and his entire family 100 times in his heart. What was this grade leader thinking? Since this was someone valued by the founding general, Li Yunlong, they must have extraordinary qualities. Yet this person received the message and didn't he pass it on? Thus, the principal hurriedly explained. This might be due to some oversight in school administration. I didn't receive the message. He then turned sharply to Director Kai beside him and said sternly, "Quickly call Subai. Let him substitute in." Yes. Back to the present on the battlefield. The top lane had already collapsed, and 3 students were desperately holding out in the central command center, struggling. One of them had already been eliminated. The body had been sent out of the arena. Only the 3 students in the bottom lane were still holding on. In the competition arena, aside from Zhao Haoyan, who was just watching, it was essentially 9 opponents against 5 of theirs. The outcome was clear. When the third body was sent out, Yamamoto's smile grew even brighter. He pointed at the battlefield and instructed his subordinates, "Have you arranged for the TV stations to broadcast this live? Asahi, NHK, and Fuji TV must cover it live. Our Sakura Empire, with its military and cultural prowess, is unbeatable. We must showcase our momentum for the whole nation to see." At this moment, 3 individuals walked by the stands. The leading young man exuded confidence, with sharp eyebrows and piercing eyes, emanating an invisible aura of dominance. The 2 individuals behind him shared the same excitement, their gazes resolute. Li Yunlong's tense expression finally softened as he smiled at the other man. "Subai, you brat. You finally made it." Chapter 58. Subai summons the undead army, turning the tide and changing the course of the battle. Yamamoto. We need to substitute in some replacement players. In this international competition, both sides have one opportunity to replace players, with a maximum of 3. Upon hearing Li Yunlong's words, Yamamoto laughed even louder. "Li Yunlong, since you are willing, I have no objections. Though I think it's a pity for these 3 young ones. They will only end up being cannon fodder in the next round. However, I have no opinions on it, as we are following the rules. After all, our students are just warming up and haven't really gotten into the swing of things yet. Adding some pressure on them isn't a bad idea." Li Yunlong didn't respond to Yamamoto. Instead, Subai, present at the scene, smiled and said, "Since they haven't gotten into the swing of things, it is indeed our hospitality that falls short." At that moment, the 5 students defending at the central command post were already in despair. The earlier burst of dark light from afar had indeed inspired them for a moment, but the harsh reality felt so pale and powerless. Zhao Haoyan sat leisurely on a stone, while 3 heavily injured and unconscious classmates lay on the ground beside him. He clicked his tongue and said, "Your forces have been nearly exhausted. Why not surrender? There's no need to drag this out." "Zhao Haoyan, damn it, not a single soldier should be given up. Now you want us to surrender?" One of the remaining 2 classmates pointed directly at Zhao Haoyan, cursing him. "What good is cursing me? My strength was never that great. It was your leader, Hu Yinju, who insisted I come. Who would have thought that following you all would lead to such weakness? Making us no match for the Eastern Sakura Empire? Now I'm caught in this mess too. Surrendering seems wise, judging by the situation. You 2 remaining with over 20 soldiers can probably hold out for only about 5 more minutes. That's much better than letting the enemy reach the command post and kill us all. You bastard. When I get back, I will definitely report your cowardice to the teacher." Zhao Haoyan snorted coldly and said to the group, "Feel free. We all know how you guys ended up on the battlefield. Hu Yinju and I are well aware. You. Forget it. Let's just surrender. We can't hold on any longer," another classmate said dejectedly. Just then, a voice rang out, "Surrender? There is no such word in this war. When heroes meet on a narrow path, the brave win. We can only draw our swords." The 3 turned to see 3 individuals walking in from the distance towards the command post, with Subai leading the way. Upon seeing the newcomers, Zhao Haoyan's legs instantly felt unsteady. Damn it, why is Subai everywhere? Just then, the Imperial Army charged in, ready to take down Subai and avenge the previous insult. Subai didn't even glance at Zhao Haoyan. He diligently instructed the remaining 2, ensuring the 3 unconscious individuals on the ground were taken off the battlefield. Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu each headed to the flanks, summoning their respective units to mount a defense. Meanwhile, Subai made his way to the middle platform. Below, hundreds of Fire Yin-Yang masters unleashed flames, ravaging the last wall of the command center. Explosions echoed throughout the area. The entire army continued to fire. Shioji waved his battle fan, shouting loudly. This victory was far too easy. The prince demanded the immediate execution of all individuals from the Dragon Kingdom within the command center. Soon, everything would come to an end. Subai watched this scene, feeling the deathly aura emanating from the metal on his chest. He then waved his hand and shouted, "Release. Rise, spirits." Activating the skill on the metal, the sky suddenly darkened, transforming from a clear day to a deep, ominous night within a few kilometers around Subai. Soon, beams of black light descended from the sky, striking the blood-soaked earth. Initially, there was 1 beam, then 2, 3, and soon dozens of them fell simultaneously. In the next moment, the over 500 soldiers summoned by the previous students resurrected, manifesting from the soil of the enemy's ranks. These undead appeared as if they were demons from hell, devoid of the pain they felt in their last moments of life. Instead, each became exceptionally frenzied. giving off a bizarre aura. Among them were the vampire from Hu Yanju, the chameleon killer from Jiubianwu, and two other classmates who summoned a long-haired war elephant and a flame rhino to fend off the attacks. Moreover, the shadows of these resurrected units harbored an evil power. These shadows shivered behind the undead, seemingly able to escape the sun's rays, possessing their own thoughts, their own consciousness, and their own control. With this peculiar army of undead, the soldiers resurrected from the Fire Yinyang Master's ranks began their frenzied counterattack. The long-haired war elephant and the flame rhino charged madly into the enemy lines. The war elephant's tusks tore through the Fire Yinyang Master's armor, piercing, slicing, and trampling enemies until they fell lifeless on the ground. The flame rhino used its sharp horn to skewer any soldiers in its path. The flames radiating from them carved fiery paths through the enemy ranks. Meanwhile, the vampire and chameleon killers seized the chaos to harvest the lives of the Fire Yinyang Masters. In front of them, the fire spellcaster was as fragile as tofu. Enemies continued to fall one by one, especially the shadows behind them, moving freely and casting their influence. They always managed to silently evade the control of the sun, delivering extra strikes to the enemies. Although the enemy soldiers were quite tenacious, they were outnumbered and gradually wiped out. The battlefield was once again littered with the bodies of soldiers from a certain nation. There was no way around it. The number of resurrected dead was simply overwhelming. A reversal, a decisive turnaround. Looking at his incredible skill, Su Bai felt elated. Kill them all. Not a single one left. In the distance, the commander was taken aback, wondering where so many troops had come from. Who on earth was so formidable, resurrecting previously fallen enemies? Could it be that the commanders and soldiers who had died earlier were part of a trap? Was it a ploy to lure the prince into a snare? If that were the case, the nation was truly ruthless, far more diabolical than the past elite forces. The more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. This group had gone mad, complete lunatics. He hurriedly retreated. In his haste, he stumbled and fell twice on the muddy ground. Your Highness, the intel was wrong. We fell into the enemy's ambush. We must retreat and regroup. By the time he reached the prince, he had become a muddy mess, looking like a beggar, devoid of any commanding presence. The prince, stationed at the back, slapped him across the face. Bakayuru, our warriors from the Empire never retreat. We must hold our ground in critical moments. To panic at the slightest obstacle is pathetic. You are truly useless. The prince drew his weapon and shouted, charge forward. Then, the magical swordsman in his ranks launched a surprise attack against Su Bai's undead army. Nobunaga, kill them. The prince's hero led the charge, only to be blocked by the resurrected terrifying Demon King. A defeated foe. A sword strike was unleashed. The Demon King's movements became eerie, dodging the attack this time. The shadows behind him moved in tandem, sharp claws tearing into Nobunaga's chest. This single strike seemed to inflict a double blow. Following that were several consecutive attacks. Nobunaga's armor shattered continuously, blood spraying out uncontrollably. Before long, the once invincible hero, the prince, had become a mere shadow of his former self. Now he has turned into a bloodied figure. Even the muscles on his chest have been torn apart, exposing the white ribs inside. The blood quickly fades away. This is the special feature of Su Bai's gem synthesis skill. The shadow also has lethal attack power, making the movements of the Fear Demon King even more elusive. After catching his breath, Nobunaga roars die, and thrusts his sword again. The Fear Demon King turns to avoid it, and his claws strike toward Nobunaga's throat. Uft! A double attack. Critical hit. Blood splatters. The trachea and head fly into the air. The sixth Demon King, Nobunaga, stands still, but his head is already gone. The Fear Demon King lifts Nobunaga's head and continuously drinks the blood gushing from his neck, licking the corners of his mouth lightly, seemingly fulfilling a wish from his previous life. He did not drink the blood of the enemy hero. Then, resurrected, he summons the ultimate move of the Fear Demon King again. Falling Flame Demon. Boom. Another meteor burning with green fire falls from the sky, crashing into the retreating enemy troops. Instantly, 7 or 8 enemy soldiers are blown away. This time, even the Flame Demon's attack becomes strange. The flames are no longer green but a ghostly gray, and the fire burning in the attack seems even fiercer. From a distance, Prince Saito sees this scene and reveals an expression of disbelief. How is this possible? His Nobunaga had previously fought with the enemy and was killed in an instant. Yet now, the enemy, after being resurrected, has defeated his Nobunaga. Cough, cough, cough. The bond of heroes. After death, the host also suffers a tremendous blow. The prince can't help but cough up some blood. Hideyoshi quickly supports him, unaware that they have already been targeted by Su Bai. Rhino tank, attack. Su Bai smiles lightly. As the battlefield is quite chaotic, there is no color distinction between the enemy and his own troops, so Su Bai is truly unsure. It took some time to find the commander. From a distance on the hillside, shells are fired toward the prince and Hideyoshi. The two are completely unaware. Boom, boom, boom. The shells explode. After a barrage of artillery, the two are blasted several dozen meters away. Hideyoshi is instantly blown to pieces, while the prince is much luckier. He has an SS-level divine item, the Yada no Kagami, which blocks this fatal blow. With a loud crack, the mirror shatters, and the divine item disappears. He stumbles up from the ground, not caring to lament that this life-saving item was used up so inexplicably, and quickly runs back. Chapter 59. The enemy forces collapse on all fronts. Subai Fury kills captives to obtain the sacred relic, wind, forest, fire, mountain, on the other sides. Chen Chao and another classmate coordinated to defend the upper lane. The agile blue-eyed tiger weaved through the enemy ranks, evading the attacks of the flying head units. These flying heads were decisively dealt with under the onslaught of the blue-eyed tiger. Its body continuously maneuvered through the gaps between the heads, its claws smashing many of them into pieces, creating a gruesome scene. Meanwhile, another classmate was using the thorn vine plant units to reinforce the destroyed command post. In the lower lane, Chen Chao's Ice Age Mammoth was even more ferocious. Clad in icy armor and wielding a spear, it charged into the fray, leaving a trail of bloodied corpses in its wake, with white smoke still rising from the bodies injured by the ice, creating a terrifying sight. The Ice Age Mammoth rampaged across the battlefield, and no one dared to obstruct its advance. However, compared to the attacks from the upper lane and the lower lane, this was merely a temporary surge of adrenaline. The disparity in troop strength was insurmountable. After just 10 minutes of fighting, both their forces began to falter. It was no wonder new soldiers were being brought in. The enemy had swapped out their troops. As the strategy states, immovable as a mountain, swift as fire. This was likely the enemy's final counterattack. A full-scale assault. Charge into the command post. Leave none alive. The upper lane forces, led by Yusuji Kenshin and Takeda Yoshinobu, saw that Wang Xiaohu's blue-eyed tiger was clearly struggling and decided to push all their soldiers forward to claim the title of the first to breach the command post. Such a merit was surely to be rewarded by the prince. However, what these two did not know was that in their center lane, Subai had already wiped out their forces. Toyotomi Hideyoshi had been reduced to pieces, and the prince had fled in disarray. Subai's army of the undead split into two routes, retreating to support the upper and lower lanes. Suddenly, the army of the undead launched a surprise attack from the rear, cutting off the support for both the upper and lower lanes. By the time the commanders of those lanes realized something was amiss, it was already too late to escape. Subai stood on the command platform, issuing orders in a deep voice, annihilate the enemy forces. With this command, the previously fallen units relentlessly compressed the enemy, like two hands tightening around their throats, gradually increasing the pressure until the enemy perished. 50 minutes later, the enemy was completely exterminated. Chen Chao, Wang Xiaohu, and the remaining two students gathered around Subai. Chen Chao said, the lower lane forces took out two of their key players, Date Masamian and Mori Motonari. Wang Xiaohu walked over, finding two other students. He kicked them to the ground with his feet. One of them was Yusuji Kenshin and the other was Takeda Genshin. Subai looked at them and said, we lost. We are willing to surrender. Subai clenched his fists, making a cracking sound. I heard that in this match, surrendering requires the other party's consent. You want to surrender? But I wonder if you've asked my fists about it. His tone was calm, but there was a murderous intent in his words. Let us go. I'll give you 100 million yen. Subai laughed, realizing it was just over 4 million converted. You think you can bribe me with this amount? Zhao Haoyan, who had been hiding aside, finally spoke up. Subai, you are magnanimous. Since you've already won, why kill the captives? Besides, if you do this, you might end up on an international wanted list, making enemies with many countries. Takeda Genshin laughed heartily and began to threaten and tempt. This lackey is right. If you kill us now, you'll be at odds with the entire West. You wouldn't want your family and friends to be in danger, would you? Subai narrowed his eyes, his gaze as cold as the north wind. What? You still want to threaten me? Ha ha. Our great Sakura Empire is allied with many developed countries in the West. If you don't let us go, you'll never find a safe place to hide. With a sneer, Subai withdrew his fists and wiped the blood off. Takeda Genshin's chest caved in as he spat out a mouthful of blood, dying on the spot. Yusuji Kenshin was so frightened that he collapsed to the ground. The subordinates began to search the two for belongings. They found 2 rings, which contained some gold coins and some of the forbidden drugs Zhao Haoyan had eaten earlier. They even discovered a few adult comics among the items. The 2 students swallowed hard. Subai, you not only kill, but also plunder. Subai removed one of the steel boots from a person and handed it over. This boot offers 5 defense. Which of you wants it? After a thorough search, Subai also swapped out his equipment, enhancing his overall defense. Character level, LV 21, Strength, 43. Agility, 223. Defense, 167. Health, 195. The most surprising find was when he opened Takeda Genshin's ring and casually browsed through the adult comics. discovering that one of the books was actually a relic. Wind Forest Fire Mountain, relic, attributes. Increases the movement speed, healing speed, attack speed, and magic recovery of all units by 5. Effect range. 1 kilometer radius from the bearer. Note. Swift as the wind, gentle as the forest, fierce as fire. Immovable as a mountain. Wow. I didn't expect this guy to be so extraordinary. He actually carries a relic with him. Can an ordinary person possess such a thing? Chen Xiao, seeing the relic, was visibly shocked. A relic? Wang Xiaohu, glancing over, seemed somewhat dismissive. Our school has one too. What's the big deal? Chen Xiao cleared his throat and slowly explained. This relic is a treasure passed down through generations of the Takeda family during the Warring States period in Japan. I didn't expect it to end up with this little guy today. This item has a long history and is one of the rare treasures in the world. Isn't that great? Subai can summon so many spirits, and with this relic, he can command a large army, further enhancing his abilities. Wang Xiaohu remarked. The other 2 students were also quite envious and regretted their earlier choices. Wow, why was I so foolish? Just now, Subai was divvying up the loot. And I didn't even want those worthless books from the emperor. I didn't expect such a treasure to be hidden inside. Zhao Haoyan felt even more jealousy and anger, cursing Subai under his breath. Why do all the good things go to you alone? Every time Zhao Haoyan saw Subai, his anger would rise another tenfold. But what could he do? He couldn't fight back, and the more he thought about it, the angrier he became, not even daring to curse out loud. Chapter 60. The relic earned by skill, no reason to return it. On the main stage watching the competition, everyone was astonished. They thought Li Yunlong was just using a delaying tactic, but then a stunning reversal occurred. The moment Subai appeared, hundreds of deceased souls transformed into heroic spirits, successfully bringing the representative team of the Demon Capital High School back from the brink of defeat. What? Principal Qin stood up in shock, his face filled with disbelief. He didn't expect this unassuming young man to be so powerful and enigmatic. Sitting next to Li Yunlong, Yamamoto gasped, his eyes wide as saucers. How is this possible? Aside from Li Yunlong, no one else had anticipated Subai's incredible prowess. From his appearance to the reversal, it only took a little over an hour. It's worth noting that although the representative team from Japan was not from a top domestic school, the students were elite among elites drawn from across the nation. They had merely switched schools temporarily. Not only did they win the first match against the Demon Capital High School of the Dragon Kingdom, but they also, moreover, they almost annihilated them. The first half of the battle went smoothly, and victory seemed just around the corner. But the outcome was unexpectedly surprising. Li Yunlong laughed heartily and said, "How about it, Yamamoto? Our student's performance is quite impressive, right?" Yamamoto gritted his teeth and replied softly. The student chosen by Brother Yunlong indeed has some skills, but the outcome is not yet decided. Don't celebrate too early. He wanted to elaborate on the saying that the first victory is just paper and the subsequent victory is money, advising against popping champagne too soon. However, corpses were soon brought forward and laid before Li Yunlong and Yamamoto. This scene caused Yamamoto to swallow the rest of his words. The first corpse, that of Hideyoshi, was blown to pieces, and it seemed not all parts were recovered. The other 2 were in a somewhat tragic state, but at least maintained some dignity. Yet, the last one, Takeda Yoshinobu's body, was in a dreadful condition. The man's chest was caved in, completely naked, lying on the ground like a noodle. It truly exemplified the saying about coming and going completely bare. Baka, how can your students from the Dragon Country disrespect the dead? Those who died in battle are heroes. At this point, Yamamoto could no longer sit still. Not only had they killed their own, but they had also stripped the corpse. It was utterly inhumane and barbaric. One of his subordinates quickly whispered in his ear, "Sir, the precious relic Furin Kazan that has been passed down through the Takeda family is missing." Upon hearing this, Yamamoto felt a surge of anger and gasped, questioning Li Yunlong. "Where's our thing?" Li Yunlong seemed confused, almost pretending to be. "Thing? What thing?" "Of course, it's the relic that Takeda Yoshinobu carried with him. Did that Subai take it?" "Don't worry, Brother Yamamoto. The battlefield is chaotic, it might have gotten lost. After the battle, I'll send someone to search the mountain for you." Then he noticed Principal Qin. "Principal Qin, Takeda Yoshinobu got too hot on the battlefield and stripped off his clothes. It's quite inappropriate. Quickly find him a good outfit, so it doesn't seem like we, the hosts, are being disrespectful." "Yes, understood." Li Yunlong thought to himself. "Damn it, I've fought for so many years, and anything taken from the enemy is mine. I've never heard of returning things. This Yamamoto must be out of his mind." Yamamoto had already seen through Li Yunlong's thoughts, but, lacking evidence, could only swallow his anger. "Brother Yunlong, the battle is only halfway through, so don't rush." At the command center in the King's Canyon, they had finally pushed back the enemy. Apart from Subai, everyone else was gasping for breath. The energy from the fierce battle had been nearly exhausted. There is no longer any power to summon soldiers again. "Brother, How come I have never seen you at the academy? Did you transfer from another school? One of the students asked. My name is Su Bai, ranked 150. Su Bai introduced himself. The two were shocked after hearing this. One of them was ranked 75, and the other was even higher, ranked 33 in their grade. They never expected that such a prodigy existed in the school. A person ranked 150 could single-handedly turn the tide. With such strength, even the grade leader wouldn't stand a chance. Su Bai urged the two to eat something and drink some water to regain their energy for defense. He also briefed them about Wang Xiaohu and Qin Chao, instructing them to protect the last command post, because the defensive structures on the top and middle lanes had already been destroyed. If the command post were to be taken down, it would all be game over. After giving these instructions, Su Bai commanded his undead army to launch a counterattack. According to the skill description, this army could only last for 5 hours, so Su Bai couldn't afford to waste any available forces. An hour later, he led his army to the enemy's defensive fortifications in the middle lane. It was a canyon wall with a gate in the middle. Above the wall, there were several defensive arrow towers for protection. If it weren't for these defenses that had stalled the enemy's advance for a while, the prestigious academy would have been defeated long ago. Now, these defensive structures had become a hindrance for Su Bai. On top of the wall, a figure dressed in black stood on the battlements. Beside him stood rows of his troops. These monsters, wearing straw hats and with charred skin, were armed with primitive firearms. Aiming at Su Bai, who was approaching to attack. Iron Cannon Corps. Prepare. Are you Su Bai? After instructing his troops to get ready for an attack, he began to converse with Su Bai. I am. Do you have any last words to convey? The other party looked disdainful. Do you think you can break through this checkpoint? I advise you not to waste your effort. The two defensive towers on the battlements are formidable. Combined with my Iron Cannon Corps, the lead pellets they fire can even penetrate shields. Isn't that a bit weak? I wonder if it can reach the power of an AK-47. He continued. There is an ancient saying in this land. Those who eat food are Wei Junjia. Right now, if you want to breach my stronghold, you are dreaming. Our prince highly appreciates your bravery and wishes to make you his general. Of course, there are great benefits to this. When the emperor passes and the prince ascends the throne, you will be alongside him. And you might even become a regional shogunate in the future. Su Bai was somewhat surprised. The prince? In this international exchange competition, even a certain country's representatives and their royal offspring have come to participate? With this thought, Su Bai felt even more excited. It seems that there will be another offering added to the shrine this time. Chapter 61. 3 minutes to smash your tower. Wow, quite a spectacle. Su Bai took a step forward. The defensive arrow tower shot out 2 beams of yellow lightning, striking the ground beside Su Bai. Subsequently, the ground exploded. It seemed that this thing had quite a high damage output. It was indeed a powerful defensive tool. Outside the arena, Yamamoto felt somewhat relieved upon witnessing this scene. No matter how brave the young man Su Bai was, he was still fighting alone. The other students from the Dragon Country couldn't even hold their ground in defense, let alone come out to assist Su Bai. It was simply wishful thinking. No matter how strong he was, he couldn't stand alone against the odds. If he attacked my mid lane, I would send my top and bottom lanes to support. If he attacked my top lane, my mid and bottom lanes would go to reinforce. If he attacked my bottom lane, my top and mid lanes would go to assist. No matter what, I was in a 360-degree defense. Moreover, there were defensive towers for support. Let us see how you handle that. Nearby, Zhang Dabiao was sweating profusely. As a longtime guard who had fought alongside General Li Yunlong, he could see the current situation at a glance. It was indeed quite tricky. What should they do? By chance, he glanced at General Li Yunlong, who was as imposing as ever. Even though the situation on the battlefield had become awkward, he showed no sign of distress. However, even if General Yunlong trusted Su Bai, this siege battle was no joke. Trust alone wouldn't suffice. He then noticed Yamamoto, who had regained his composure and was looking more relaxed. Indeed, if both sides continued to play defensively, the match would likely end in a draw. In that case, the Dragon Country would have no chance of victory in this international exchange competition. What's the matter, realizing you can't break through? Su Bai extended 3 fingers. What do you mean? You think you have a 30% chance? How naive. The defender upstairs laughed. 3 minutes. 3 minutes to smash your tower. If I can't break it, consider it my loss. Su Bai replied, looking up. Is that possible? Are you just showing off? I've seen people boast, but I've never seen anyone act this foolish. What arrogance. Then go ahead and try. Let me see how you plan to smash my tower in 3 minutes. Facing the mockery from the defender, Su Bai remained unfazed. No, it should be even faster by a few seconds. This guy was too arrogant, completely underestimating his own strength. His artillery unit was definitely formidable. Remote attacks, unmatched at the same age. This guy can only rely on his soldiers to charge fearlessly forward. Otherwise, he won't be able to break through his own defenses. However, what he doesn't know is that the soldiers behind Su Bai are limited in their control time. Therefore, He can recklessly use the remaining 300 various soldier types to continuously assault the tower. With a command, Subai ordered all his troops to charge straight at the gate of the defense line. The observers above thought Subai would first test the waters with a small group of soldiers, but instead, he sent them all in at once. The artillery unit, fire. The artillery unit on the city tower coordinated with the defense tower to counter Subai's mixed troops charging down. Waves of firepower depleted the health of some revived soldiers, causing black blood and rotten flesh to explode. Yamamoto saw this scene and finally relaxed his expression. This guy Subai was brave but foolish. Charging down like this would lead to heavy casualties. If he needed to summon so many soldiers again, it would take at least 3 days and nights of rest. Meanwhile, other spectators began to whisper among themselves. Can Subai break through? I don't know. If it were before, I felt Subai's main force could definitely break through. But now, the defending troops are also fierce. If this keeps up, Subai's numbers will only dwindle. I still believe Subai will capture this defensive position. His troops move unpredictably, blending mysteriously with the shadows behind him, which could affect the accuracy of the artillery unit. If he charges hard, there is still a chance. While these people were exchanging views, Subai took out the relic, wind, forest, fire, mountain. In the next moment, the remaining 200 mixed troops surged forward with increased speed, recklessly charging toward the defense line's gate. Various attacks pounded the defensive gate. The artillery unit on the tower continued to fire, and with every round of attacks, Subai lost a dozen soldiers. But this only lasted for less than a minute and a half. The heavy iron gate of the defense collapsed with a loud crash. The vampires, chameleon assassins, war elephants, and rhinos controlled by Subai surged onto the city wall, engaging the enemy's artillery unit in close combat. These monster soldiers wielding bird guns were indeed powerful at range, but their close combat capability was significantly weaker. They were no match for Subai's mixed troops. In less than 30 seconds, the enemy suffered severe casualties, and the small defending soldier fled for his life. Subai glanced at the time. The entire battle lasted 2 minutes and 42 seconds. At the same time, Yamamoto stood up from his seat and applauded. It was an impressive siege battle. And that substitute student Subai truly had strength. The people from the Dragon Kingdom immediately saw the problem, although Subai had captured the first checkpoint. Moreover, it was very swift, but the problem was that the large army he had summoned earlier had suffered heavy losses. With those troops gone, his potential strength had been fully exhausted, and he could no longer achieve anything. Therefore, Yamamoto's praise was not sincere. After Subai occupied the defensive tower position, the summoned soldiers had already mostly perished. On the city wall, there were remnants of ruins. Only those 2 defensive towers remained intact. The reason was that Subai acted quickly. The 2 towers had not been dismantled in time and were seized by Subai. Now, if the enemy attacked him, he could use these 2 towers to retaliate. However, there was a drawback. The attack power of these defensive towers was still somewhat lacking, as they couldn't even kill a soldier with a single hit. He approached the base of the tower, and its attributes immediately became clear. Defensive tower, strength, 200, agility, 0, defense, 25, health, 2,500, attack range, 300 meters radius. No wonder it couldn't kill a soldier in one hit. It turned out it only had 200 attack power. After factoring in the soldier's inherent defense, a typical soldier would need to be hit twice. If it were some higher-tier soldiers, at least 3 hits would be needed to take them down. Although it was strong, it was also somewhat underwhelming. This reminded Subai of his previous life playing a certain game, where he often tower dived to kill, and the defensive towers were practically useless. However, since he had captured this checkpoint, he needed to leave some soldiers to defend it. Otherwise, if the enemy returned, control of the defensive towers would fall back into their hands. With this in mind, Subai turned his attention inward, preparing to mobilize some soldiers to guard the area. But he inadvertently glanced at the section for human units and spotted the magnetic storm infantry. Chapter 62. If we're going to gamble, let's bet big. We'll bet on Penglai Island. Looking again at the defensive tower above him, made entirely of metal and emitting yellow electric currents, he felt a strange familiarity. Magnetic storm infantry. Activate. 5 heavily armored soldiers wearing rubber-insulated suits, each holding a Tesla portable electronic ring in one arm, emerged from Subai's chest. All of them wore metallic explosion-proof masks, making their heads appear particularly large. Jewel is in motion, Commander. These 5 large-headed soldiers were also created by Subai for a trial run. Since their cost was not low, each one consumed 500 gold. He opened their attribute check. Magnetic explosive infantry, strength, 35, agility, 8, defense, 65, health, 350, skill, magnetic storm current. Note, can deal 200 damage to biological units and 250 damage to armored units. Okay, the attributes are quite decent. After all, in the game, the heavy infantry is a devastating presence against humanoid units. It can also withstand the onslaught of enemy tanks while dealing considerable counter damage. Brothers, can you charge these 2 defense towers? Be very careful not to attack the towers. Subai expressed his thoughts, fearing that these 5 magnetic explosive infantry would discharge electricity at the defense towers and accidentally blow them up, which wouldn't be worth it. The magnetic explosive infantry responded, "Yes, Commander." The 5 split into 2 teams, each approaching a defense tower to attempt charging it. They first switched their portable Tesla coil energy transmitters to charging mode. Then, small currents began to rise along the base of the defense towers. Meanwhile, the lights at the top of the 2 towers shifted from yellow to a more intense mix of deep yellow and blue. Subai dared not approach the 2 towers, fearing he might get electrocuted. It seemed indeed much stronger now. In the stands, Yamamoto kept his gaze fixed on Subai's side. This guy is hesitating, and the number of soldiers summoned is minimal. It seems he has run out of steam. He whispered to his subordinate beside him. Go inform the prince that Subai has no soldiers left. Yamamoto, the old fox, merely moved his lips, producing barely audible sounds, and he spoke in a foreign language. No one around noticed. In the enemy command center, Senramaru, I assigned you to guard the center lane, but you came crawling back. What a waste. Seppuku, seppuku. It turned out that the boy controlling the artillery regiment was named Senramaru. He had retreated after Subai's undead army broke through the tower, now being harshly reprimanded by the wise lord beside Prince Shitoku. With a clang, Shihiro casually tossed his short sword at Senramaru's feet. Senramaru, trembling all over, slowly picked up the short sword from the ground. Removing his headscarf, he placed it in his mouth, gripping the hilt with both hands, preparing to commit seppuku. At the moment he was about to strike, he didn't want to die, but felt he had no choice but to take his life in apology to the emperor. Prince Shitoku waved his hand to stop him. You don't need to worry. Just now, Teacher Yamamoto's relic sent me a signal. The main force on the other side, Subai, indeed has no troops left. They are currently defending at the central tower, seemingly waiting for their energy to recover before engaging us in battle. Upon hearing this news, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. They had previously witnessed Subai's overwhelming strength, where fallen bodies revived as undead to attack them. Under such a powerful offensive, our side had lost 5 generals in the siege battle. That strength cannot be underestimated. Fortunately, Subai's troops have finally been exhausted. A commander without troops, no matter how formidable, is merely a figurehead. Thus, Prince Shitoku began to assign roles. Senramaru, Akichi Hidaru, you 2 go and take down Subai. Senramaru's energy was also depleted. Akichi forcibly stuffed a large amount of forbidden medicine into his mouth, clearly exceeding the dosage Zhao Haoyan had taken by 5 or 6 times. It can be said that it was a desperate measure. At the tower, it was about time. Leaving a few magnetic explosion infantry for defense should be able to hold off the enemy from attacking our base while we are on the offensive for a while. Now that so many enemy structures have been taken down, we also have an allied base. However, Subai hasn't had the time to manage it, and the territory excavated by the mining vehicles is only enough for the allied base to deploy temporarily. It seems there will be a need to produce more mining vehicles to clear some space for the upcoming major battle. Subai sat cross-legged on the city wall, starting to click on the Rhino tanks. Now that the undead army, his trump card, is gone, Subai must maintain a strong presence to dominate the enemy forces. With absolute combat power, he aimed to crush the opposing forces. 1 tank, 2 tanks, another 5 tanks were produced. In fact, he wanted to produce more. But the previous lottery had consumed half of his gold resources, making them a bit tight. Fortunately, he hadn't deployed any troops recently. Aside from synthesizing gems, which cost a lot, he still had a considerable amount left. Production was ongoing. 979-899-100 tanks and various units, finally reaching 100 units. Subai slowly opened his eyes. At this moment, in the distance, a dense mass of soldiers was marching towards them. These soldiers were all from the previous siege defense. The Iron Cannon Corps? Wasn't he that guy driven away? How dare he come back? To Subai's surprise, this time, that guy had produced over 200 soldiers. How did he recover his physical strength so quickly? Looking at the stage, Yamamoto smiled again. Cloud Dragon brother, it seems that your prized student is now lacking in energy. It looks a bit dangerous as he can't summon many troops. Unexpectedly, Li Yunlong's dark face also revealed a smile. How about this, Yamamoto? Let us bet a bottle of sweet potato liquor. I believe your group of underdogs is no match for us. Yamamoto's expression froze. Where did Li Yunlong get this confidence? However, he didn't think his side would lose. The advantage in numbers was obvious, and Subai only had 2 defensive towers and a few soldiers to defend with. What could they use to fight against him? Fine, but I've heard that sweet potato liquor is the least valuable drink in your country. Why not make a bigger bet, like the control over the disputed land? The crowd gasped in surprise. Everyone knew that the disputed land was none other than the legendary Panglai Island of their country. Years ago, When the military warlords were fighting in disarray and the national power was weak, the Sakura Empire seized the opportunity to invade. Fortunately, countless heroes fought bravely and eventually drove the enemy out of their territory. However, the Sakura Empire was an island nation, and the number of people awakening in their navy was not to be underestimated. Therefore, even though the Dragon Nation defeated the Sakura Empire, the latter still included Penglai Island within its sphere of influence. In recent years, the Dragon Nation has been making continuous efforts to develop and has significantly increased investment in naval talent. Finally, a solid group of naval personnel was forged. Consequently, the originally unilaterally controlled Penglai Island by the Sakura Empire has finally yielded some ground and become a disputed area. Several times before, the Sakura Empire was willing to pay a hefty sum to buy the island. However, for the Dragon Nation, every inch of territory could not be conceded. More importantly, this place would open a high-level dungeon every 10 years, where clearing it could yield rare equipment and personal enhancement items, among other treasures. It was a critical location for both sides. Now, in this year, the naval situation had reversed with the Sakura Empire facing the Dragon Nation's navy. If a war broke out over that island, the losses would be unimaginable. This time, Yamamoto had this purpose in mind, to make the Dragon Nation accept that Penglai Island was within the sphere of influence of the Sakura Empire. The military god Li Yunlong in front of him could fully represent the Dragon Nation. Moreover, the situation was not as one-sided as before. There was still a suspenseful chance for the Dragon Nation to win. By throwing out this chip, Li Yunlong would have no choice but to take the bet. Yamamoto, with his cunning mind, was sure that Li Yunlong would not refuse this offer. Sure enough, Li Yunlong said, "Is that true? Yamamoto, you're just a joke. With nothing on either side. Can you keep your word?" Of course. After saying that, he took out a document, stamped with the imperial seal of the emperor of a certain country. General Li Yunlong looked it over carefully and said, "Damn it, you even dug a pit for me. It clearly states that the victory of this match will determine the ownership of a certain island, not between Subai and that kid fighting here. Why the hurry? Brother Yunlong, the big bet is on the final result. What? Are you not satisfied with this agreement?" Li Yunlong stopped talking nonsense and signed his name on the spot. At that moment, everyone felt it was too risky. Although Subai was strong, he was clearly on the defensive now, with a massive number of soldiers from the opposing side charging at him. Winning was not guaranteed. Moreover, even if he won this battle, he would have to complete the entire match and flatten the command post to determine the outcome. The chances of winning were at most 30%. Back in the game, after Subai had deployed all his troops, he was about to leave when he was surrounded by the Iron Cannon Corps led by Sunlan Maru. "All troops, halt." Sunlan Maru and Meiji Haidlang approached the attack range of the defense tower, looking at Subai standing on the city wall, and laughed heartily. Meiji Haidlang shouted with a smile, "You have indeed become a lonely man. Why not let the few remaining people in the base come support you? There might still be a slim chance of escape." Subai scoffed, "Did you get married?" "Huh, what do you mean?" "I mean, if you haven't married yet, you can surrender and leave the battlefield now to continue your lineage. If you keep acting tough in front of me, your family will be extinct." "Damn it." Meiji Haidlang was left speechless by Subai. Just as Sunlan Maru said, he was indeed too pretentious. "Fire. Turn him into a beehive." The soldiers of the Iron Cannon Corps lined up and began loading. However, this old-fashioned flintlock required front-loading with gunpowder, which took time. 2 defense towers had already shot out 2 blue and yellow flashes of lightning. Boom. The current surged violently. The first 2 soldiers in line were instantly turned to charcoal. Since the Iron Cannon Corps was using a volley firing formation, the distance between each soldier was very close. As a result, they suffered chain lightning damage. Nearby soldiers were knocked down, foaming at the mouth and convulsing. Soldiers a bit further away were still busy lighting the fuses, but they too were splashed by the lightning that came through, causing their hands to tremble involuntarily. One soldier accidentally knocked his ignition material against the gunpowder barrel he was carrying. Boom. The gunpowder barrel exploded, and several soldiers from the Iron Cannon Corps caught fire, suffering severe burns from the flames. This seems off, doesn't it? Chapter 63. The Magnetic Storm Infantry Professor Yang shows his might. Small lightning storm. Standing in the back row, Akira Shiro felt it was unbelievable. When did the damage from the defense tower become so high? He clearly remembered that when the Senramru artillery regiment attacked the mid-lane defense tower, a soldier took 23 hits from the tower before dying. Moreover, the tower's attacks did not have any splash damage. Akira Shiro dared not act recklessly and could only order Senramru to keep firing. After the front row of artillery fell, the soldiers in the back row took their place. Since the back row had already loaded their bullets in advance, the sound of gunfire erupted. Bullets flew past Subai's head. Wow, the soldiers of the artillery regiment are actually this strong. Previously, his undead army had been reckless, and he truly underestimated this opponent in front of him. At this moment, Subai prepared to summon his armored torrent to counter the enemy's volley. "Commander, Why not give the enemy commander a shock treatment? Huh. Subai turned around to find that an extra magnetic storm infantry was speaking to him. There were 2 magnetic storm infantry charging one defense tower, so the one next to him was considered extra. However, the tower's attack range couldn't reach those 2. The Tesla coil had already charged up and could strike targets at a greater distance. So that's how it is, Subai recalled that in red alert after charging. The electromagnetic coil not only increased in power, but also had an extended attack range. What is your name? Subai asked the magnetic storm infantry that had spoken to him. I am Yang Ivankov, a professor and expert in the field of psychiatry before joining the army. Subai. All right, Professor Yang, the magnetic storm infantry, you command the defense tower to attack the commander controlling the artillery regiment. Understood. Boom, boom, boom. 2 fierce bolts of high-energy lightning shot out from the defense tower. They accurately hit the already drugged Senramaru. The lightning released by the electromagnetic coil struck below the waist, instantly turning his lower body to dust. His waist was charred black. Meanwhile, Akira Shiro was splattered with flesh from the lightning. Akira Shiro was dumbfounded. This is not scientific. This is not scientific. They must be cheating. Otherwise, how could the defense tower deal such high damage and attack from such a distance? The battle situation took a sharp turn. At this moment, Akira Shiro had no courage left to stand where Senramaru was just moments ago. The ultra-long attack range violated his understanding. Thus, he hurriedly dragged the barely breathing Senramaru back. You guys are cheating. On the main stage, the subordinates around Yamamoto began to shout loudly. Yamamoto stopped them and calmly said to Li Yunlong, General Yunlong is a rare hero. I didn't expect my subordinates to resort to such petty tricks as cheating. It makes me feel ashamed. Zhang Dabiao retorted, are you blind? All the data of the defense towers before the battle has already been made available for your inspection. Now you accuse us of cheating. What evidence do you have? Evidence. The attack power and range of the defense towers have obviously increased several times. Even if there were cheating, it would only be minor adjustments, like tweaking speed or reducing damage. To be so blatant about it, what else could it be if not cheating? Just as he finished speaking, a staff member responsible for monitoring the defense tower data came up to report. All weapon attacks from the defense towers are normal. However, the magical defense energy has increased exponentially. According to the footage from the cameras on site, it was Subai who used a special troop to perform a microelectrical enhancement on the defense towers, boosting their attack power and range. This is a unique advantage of that special troop. Nani, Yamamoto's subordinates were furious, their noses wrinkling in disbelief. They didn't expect Subai to have such skills. This student was indeed a young talent valued by Li Yunlong. Truly extraordinary. The enemy commander retreated. The magnetic explosion infantry commanded the defense towers, continuously harvesting the enemy troops. Waves of electricity lashed out like invisible lightning whips, striking the artillery troops. Each soldier touched turned to ashes, disappearing into smoke. This exaggerated lightning effect made Subai feel like he was playing the 5th level of the Soviet campaign in Red Alert, City of Lights, which featured an Eiffel Tower. The mission of the magnetic explosion infantry was to charge the Eiffel Tower, turning it into a giant lightning launcher. The power was explosive. Thunder rumbled through the central area of the battlefield. This spectacle, more miraculous than a bolt from the blue, stunned everyone in the audience. Was this really a defense tower? It was like a thunder god. A wave of lightning swept across, leaving only scorching energy on the ground, while the struck enemy soldiers turned to char. The entire area looked as if it had been ravaged by a thunderstorm. If one were to describe it, hell would be the most fitting term. Subai was also astonished. It truly resembled a charged Eiffel Tower. The enemy soldiers below felt as if they were undergoing a lightning tribulation. But they were all failing the trial. In a moment, Subai thought, isn't this just a lightning storm? This is ridiculously exaggerated. A fierce bolt of lightning struck a large tree next to the fleeing Meiji Xiaolong. The blazing fire engulfed the tree, which was as thick as 5 people could embrace. Snapping with a crack, it fell directly on Meiji Xiaolong. He spat out a mouthful of old blood and nearly fainted. Madam is terrifying. After 20 minutes, all the minions were cleared. Subai also leveled up successfully. Character level, LV22. Strength, 431. Agility, 251. Defense, 23. Health, 1955. His level has reached 22. This was thanks to that unknown guy who turned back and delivered a large number of minions. After finishing these, Subai produced 5 magnetic infantry for defense. The previous 5 had been attacking using the defense tower, and they directly reached 3 stars. Their attributes are now extraordinary. Magnetic infantry, strength, 4010. Agility, 91. Defense, 65. Health, 400,100. Skill, magnetic storm, chain lightning. Not only have their attack power and health significantly increased, but they also gained a new skill, chain lightning. The description of chain lightning is even more interesting. Attacking one enemy can cause damage to 5 nearby targets in succession. with damage decreasing by 20 each time. This means the first target receives 100 damage, the second 80, the third 60, the fourth 40, and the fifth 20. It's somewhat reminiscent of the orc hero, the prophet, from a certain strategy game. In other words, this one unit is like an infinite magic. A high-spec version of the prophet with a low cooldown. Just thinking about it feels a bit refreshing. Subai waved his hand, and the phalanx formed by the rhino tank and mobilized infantry began to advance, attacking the enemy's command center. It was time for this match to come to an end. However, halfway through, Subai ordered the troops to stop, because the ground was covered with gold coins, shining brightly. Subai casually picked one up and tried to collect it in the system. Sure enough, the system added some resource points. He ruled out the possibility of an ambush nearby and looked at the ground covered with gold coins. It must be at least 8 or 9,000 coins, if not tens of thousands. Subai thought for a moment. This must have been intentionally scattered by those two when they fled to slow down his march. Throwing gold coins around like this is truly wasteful. Upholding a simple value system, Subai ordered all mobilized infantry to start collecting the gold coins on the ground. On the other side, at the command center where Prince Xingde was located. Your Highness, I was deceived by Senlamaru. The enemy is indeed powerful and has hidden strength, leading to an ambush. I had no choice but to retreat, mainly because of the false intelligence provided by Senlamaru. Mingji Xiulong knelt on the ground pleading. Prince Xingde remained silent. The current situation is extremely unfavorable. When the enemy attacks, these few may not even be able to hold their ground. However, you don't need to take it too seriously. I've already set up a solid defense line, and the enemy will come and go without a trace. The prince's eyes lit up. Oh, tell me more. I've spread over 20,000 gold coins across the road, and according to my scouts, the enemy is picking up the money on the ground. What the heck? Are you out of your mind? Spreading money on the ground, isn't that just helping the enemy? The other commander continued. Letting them pick up the money is just a delaying tactic. I've dispatched troops to dig out several thousand square meters of marshland outside our command post, where my special unit, the Titan Crocodiles, is waiting. As long as the enemy dares to step into the marsh, it will be their grave. In the marsh, no troops can defeat my Titan Crocodiles. Indeed, in a watery environment, especially in shallow water, the crocodile unit in front of me is formidable. This is also one of the reasons the prince brought him along for the competition. An hour later, the mountain of gold coins in front of Subai dazzled him. He had never seen so many gold coins before. There were nearly 20,000 coins, more than he had imagined. 3 mobilized soldiers even strained their backs from picking up coins, losing dozens of health points. One of them accidentally got crushed by a pile of coins and was eliminated on the spot. However, Subai didn't care. Wasn't this what good brothers were for? After all, with nearly 20,000 coins, he could afford to lose 200 of his good brothers. This level of loss was truly negligible. He collected all the coins into the system. The troops continued to advance until they stopped in front of a marsh. In this terrain, the heavy rhino tanks would definitely get stuck. So Subai commanded his good brothers to clear the way. As a result, the first 2 good brothers suddenly sank into the water, creating huge splashes, followed by blood spreading in the water from the command platform in the distance. The other commander was very satisfied with his setup. Trading money for time, this makeshift marsh he dug out was nothing for his wealthy family. After all, throwing money to win the competition wasn't a big deal. Giving the enemy some money wouldn't increase their combat power by even half a point. Chapter 64, Setting Traps, Lures, No Bites? That's because you don't understand electric technology. Subai looked at the shallow marsh in front of him, surprised that the enemy had set up a trap here, using crocodiles to ambush and block his advance. Unfortunately, this was completely futile. Subai laughed. Having just picked up nearly 20,000 gold coins, he was well funded. He produced 20 elite soldiers from the barracks. Subai commanded this group of magnetic explosion infantry to enter the shallow marsh. This fool still hasn't learned his lesson and is heading to his own demise. Titan Crocodile, swim up and bite fiercely. A group of Titan crocodiles lurking in the muddy bottom of the water swayed their large tails and quietly approached the magnetic storm infantry led by Subai. At the same time, the magnetic storm infantry stopped in the middle of the swamp. Subai began to command these infantry to forcefully attack the surrounding water areas. Zizzing sounds echoed as powerful high-voltage currents surged through the water, creating a net-like electric grid across a radius of several hundred meters. The Titan crocodiles attempting to attack were convulsing under the strong current, with smoke rising from their bodies. Numerous ping-pong ball-sized bubbles continuously surfaced, densely packed together. From the command platform, the commander was puzzled by the situation. He only knew that his troops were losing contact one after another. Within 30 seconds, those Titan crocodiles floated to the surface, belly up. What the heck? Subai was controlling his troops to electrofish. After a minute, the commander finally understood the situation and hurriedly ordered his troops to disperse. Unfortunately, it was too late. Under the leadership of Professor Yang from the 3rd level Magnetic Storm Infantry, the infantry had already spread out across the entire water area. The small Tesla coils in their hands continuously released powerful currents at the water's surface. The heat generated by the strong currents raised the swamp's water temperature by 7 or 8 degrees. The commander's crocodile troops had nowhere to escape, all revealing their white bellies and turning into experience points for Subai. Furious, the commander jumped around in anger, but there was nothing he could do. He had guaranteed the defense line's invulnerability. Even if Subai had 1,000,000 troops, he would still be helpless. Unexpectedly, the opponent used electric techniques akin to those of fishermen, relying entirely on high technology without bait. This was definitely against the rules. Unfortunately, the commander was still powerless. The crocodiles in the river became easy prey for the Magnetic Storm Infantry. Even those who were lucky enough to escape to the shore could not avoid being shot down by artillery and gunfire from the shore. There was only one way left, which was death. Just then, in a shallow area of the swamp, a thick, slippery, black-fleshed giant fish broke through the surface, thrashing in pain as if the electric current from the Magnetic Storm Infantry had forced it out of the water. The creature endured the pain from the surface currents, its body swaying back and forth towards the shore, trying to escape this disaster. The monster that emerged from the swamp initially measured only a few meters long, but its size kept increasing, eventually reaching over 30 meters, resembling a gigantic catfish. This startled Subai. He quickly commanded the mobilized soldiers and rhino tanks on the shore to attack the giant monster climbing onto the land. In the distance, a wise observer suddenly remembered something upon seeing this creature. Before entering the Dragon Kingdom, he had done a terrain analysis, noting that every rainy season in the realm of legends, the abyssal giant catfish would emerge from its burrow to hunt for food. This giant beast had little interaction with the human world, but those who accidentally wandered into its territory would become its prey. In its domain, it was unbeatable. Thus, it was also known as the Lord of the Rivers. It belonged to the king-level monsters underwater, with a width comparable to a truck and an unimaginable body length. In the water, it could swallow any creature whole. However, once on land, it became somewhat inept. Damn it, that lucky fellow had electrocuted an abyssal giant catfish, a creature worth 12,000 experience points. How could he have such good luck? However, he was unaware that this was the case. He was merely surprised to discover that he had killed the creature and earned 12,000 experience points. He never expected such a sudden monster would yield so much experience. Moreover, after defeating it, he obtained an item, Earth Spirit Pearl, single-use item, attribute, permanently increases the user's defense by 10 points. Incredible. It actually dropped a permanent attribute-enhancing item, a rare treasure. He was astonished. Meanwhile, the observer across from him was even more furious. He had spent so much money to prevent this individual from advancing, only to uncover a swamp, and had placed so many of his own Titan crocodiles inside, yet he had not detected the presence of the abyssal giant catfish. Not only did this allow the other to gain a significant amount of experience, but it also provided a permanent item. The round, earthy yellow Earth Spirit Pearl was worth far more than the 20,000 gold coins he had calculated. In the realm of cherry blossoms, such a rare treasure could buy 2 buildings in the gold-rich area of Tokyo. Of course, for an item that could permanently enhance attributes, he could never sell it. It had to be used personally to boost himself. After all, one thing was clear. Although he possessed a red alert system, the summon units were tied to his own level. Each level increase could only add to the number of real-name summoned units. In other words, at level 22, his maximum troop count was 220. Thus, the Earth Spirit Pearl, which increased defense by 10 points, was extremely valuable. Just as he was about to use it, the Earth Spirit Pearl emitted a faint glow. This glow? It seemed very similar to the light emitted when he had previously synthesized gems. Subai took out his personal items from the storage ring and discovered that the Earth Spirit Pearl resonated with the relic wind, forest, fire, mountain. He didn't expect these 2 items to have similarities and could actually be combined. So, Subai proceeded with the synthesis. A brown light burst forth from the canyon and transmitted to the viewing platform outside. Synthesis successful. Upon retrieving the item inside, the relic he had plundered from Takeda underwent a change in attributes. Wind, forest, fire, mountain, relic, attributes. Increases the movement speed, healing speed, and attack speed of all unit types by 5, and provides 500 death retaliation, effect range, 1 kilometer radius around the bearer. The original magic recovery of 5 disappeared, which was a rather useless attribute for Subai. Instead, it transformed into 500 death retaliation. What kind of attribute was this? He carefully studied the notes. Notes: when allied units die, the damage of the last hit will be reflected within a radius of 10 meters. This skill seemed somewhat useless as well. With 500 damage retaliation, as long as his soldiers didn't die all at once, the reflected damage would at most be a few hundred points. For high-level monsters, dealing 20 to 30 damage would already be considered remarkable. For others, it was merely a marginally useful attribute. However, for Subai, this skill perfectly addressed the weakness of a certain underwhelming unit in Red Alert 2, the KBFC. Chapter 65, Bombers Unlocked. The Frenzied Revenge Begins. This unit was a rather lackluster presence in Red Alert. Aside from the AI using it, players rarely utilized it in real battles. Perhaps only a few like 08 or Blue Sky, Moon, and some skilled players would occasionally toy with it. However, the relic Subai seized, after fusion and enhancement, increased the damage of the bombers by 500, which should be considerable. With this in mind, Subai decided to give it a try. Currently, there was no available land in his Stone Sea, and even if he built more units now, he couldn't clear out any additional space. Thus, Subai's warriors reclaimed the allied base to free up some land. Only then did he choose to construct a radar, which was a prerequisite building for special units. Meanwhile, Meiji Hideo had long since fled back, unwilling to engage Subai in a direct confrontation. After crossing the swamp, the radar was completed, with a series of clicking sounds. The large cover lifted from the ground. The oval radar continuously rotated 360 degrees at Subai's chest. He could hear the buzzing sound as a top-down map unfolded in his mind. The entire canyon was now within Subai's view. Basically, apart from a few particularly small, unexplored areas shrouded in fog of war, all remaining regions are revealed. Impressive. The all-terrain visibility and radar indeed feel like they have been enhanced. Now, turning our attention to the personnel aspect, there are several new troop types available. Not only are there bombers, but also radiation engineers and Crazy Ivan. 3 troop types in total. This means that the special troops from the various countries in the Soviet camp can all be built by Subai. Although it looks incredibly satisfying, there is a difference from the original game. All 3 special troop frames are gray, and each has a symbol of 3 yellow metal locks with the words unlocked. Clicking on the bomber shows, KBFC, production cost, 200, locked, unlock cost, 20,000. The other 2, the Radiation Engineer and Crazy Ivan, have even higher unlock costs, with the Radiation Engineer costing 60,000 gold and Crazy Ivan a staggering 100,000 gold. Logically, if this were in the game, Subai would definitely unlock the Radiation Engineer first. This troop type is a nemesis to all biological troops. However, in this world where everything is replicated, many troop types are already dead. For example, the Azura demons encountered earlier are all undead monsters. Subai doesn't believe they would fear the Radiation Engineer's radiation. Moreover, if the Radiation Engineer were to sit down, instead of turning enemies into green sludge, he might end up being affected by radiation himself, which would be quite troublesome. Therefore, Subai didn't want to meet his end so soon. The first thought was to pass on the Radiation Engineer. Resolutely, he spent 20,000 gold to unlock the bomber. In an instant, the more than 20,000 gold Subai had saved up plus the additional 20,000 gold found on the ground was nearly all gone. Only 10,000 remained in his account. After completing this, Subai's army had also arrived at the enemy's headquarters. At this moment, in the enemy's stronghold, only Prince Santo, Meiji Hideo, and the barely breathing Senramaru and Mori Motonari remained. The 4 of them looked at Subai as if facing a formidable enemy. They all turned to Prince Santo, hoping that this descendant of the sun could turn the tide. However, Prince Santo no longer had the sharpness he once had. He was frightened by Subai's previous battle, his eyes wavering, unsure of what to do. At this time, a group of rough men's shouts could be heard from outside, their voices filled with many retroflex sounds, clearly indicating an accent from the northern region. A few individuals exchanged glances, and the prince turned his gaze to a man hiding in a corner. He spoke in a friendly tone. Zhao, as a citizen of our nation, I hope you can persuade Subai. We will offer him substantial benefits. The man quickly raised his head in gratitude. Thank you, Your Majesty. Thank you, Your Majesty. Subai was shouting orders from below the command post on the mountain. A man emerged, standing at the mountain's peak. Subai was taken aback upon seeing the visitor. It was Zhao Haoyan. How did this guy end up at the enemy's command post? The next moment, Subai realized, could it be that he had defected? Subai, you are indeed impressive. But what good does it do to stay in our nation? Isn't it just a routine of studying and fighting? You might as well join our prince here. I guarantee you will become a powerful figure. Zhao Haoyan, you are a traitor. This is not being a traitor. It's called a wise choice of allegiance. Why the hell are you being a lackey for them? Since Zhao Haoyan had moved from the shadows to the forefront, he had no intention of hiding. Haha, do you really think that's how our school lost last time? I was the one who leaked the information, and I'm doing it again now. And I'm not a traitor. I have already become a citizen of the Cherry Blossom Empire. I am one of them now. I advise you to find your way back. Before he could finish, Subai's tank had already fired. No wonder the top academy in our nation had lost to the enemy. It turned out this kid was behind it. As the artillery rained down, Zhao Haoyan quickly retreated. This bastard has actually become a traitor. Zhao Haoyan, I must end you today. After this barrage, Su Bai ordered the anti-aircraft vehicles to deploy. 2 mobilized soldiers brought a man down. The man was completely naked, looking dejected. Listen up. If you surrender now, I might spare a few of your lives. Otherwise, this man will be your fate. Having just learned that Su Bai could not be bribed, the prince was in a state of despair. Moments later, he saw the previously missing Yusuji Kenshin in Su Bai's hands, taken as a hostage. But the honor of the Cherry Blossom Empire would not allow him to surrender. With a gunshot, Yusuji Kenshin was killed by a mobilized soldier, collapsing to the ground. At this moment, the prince could no longer bear it. Damn it, they are ruthless. Not discussing terms and directly killing someone was a blatant threat, indicating that others would meet the same fate as Yusuji Kenshin. This was inhumane. What was the difference between this and being brutal? Or perhaps Su Bai was the biggest tyrant of them all. Zhang Dabiao laughed heartily. Shanben, let me say this. Don't be disheartened about the bodies. There is still a chance if you surrender now. Quickly prepare your navy to leave the Penglai Ferry Island, so we don't waste time during the handover later. Facing the disadvantage before him, Shanben merely replied calmly, substitutes. We also need to bring in substitutes. According to the competition rules, each team can have 3 substitutes. The side from Longwa couldn't object. Thus, 3 men walked in, one in his 30s, a one-eyed man resembling a small-time thug, wearing a big gold chain. Another was a man in his 60s, bald with a white beard, even the hair in his nose was white. The last one was a young man with a missing arm. Yamazaki Ruji, Guki, and Yamamoto Koji, you 3 will take over. At this moment, the people from Longwa couldn't hold back. Are these guys students? One has a disability, another looks like a gangster, and the last one is about the same age as you. You're telling me they are students from the Next Generation Academy? Yamamoto chuckled, show your student IDs. The 3 pulled out brand new student IDs from their black school uniforms. See, they are all students from our school. As for age and appearance, our country does not judge by looks. As long as they meet the standards, they can enroll. It was obvious to anyone that Yamamoto was playing tricks. These 3 were not students at all. Unfortunately, their documents were in order, and there was no other way. They could only let these 3 take over in combat. At this moment, in the command center of the opposing side, several people were anxious. They hoped that when they surrendered later, Su Bai would not forcefully kill them. Zhao Haoyan's face looked like a frostbitten eggplant, both pale and green. He cursed himself for turning traitor. He thought he could gain wealth and power, but in the end, it was all for nothing. If Su Bai killed Prince Shinda, he wouldn't be able to return to the country of cherry blossoms and would be judged as a traitor. Just then, the 3 substitutes took the place of the already defeated Sunlan Maru, Akira Hidero, and another bodyguard named Sakamoto Ryoma. Yamamoto Koji assured, Your Highness, don't worry. My grandfather is in command. Our country will not lose. These 2 experts will defeat Su Bai and win the match. It turned out that Yamamoto Koji was the grandson of Yamamoto Ichifu in the stance. Reinforcements had arrived, and Prince Shinda gathered his courage once more. Stealing his resolve, he ordered an attack on the enemy stronghold. The grizzled warrior, barefoot, stepped onto the command platform. With a wave of his hand, a sea of banners appeared across the landscape. 500 heads adorned with white ribbons bore the 4 bold characters proclaiming victory for the Imperial Army. Representing a formidable fighting force. With incredible strength, they surged forth. On the other side, a man resembling a gangster, Yamazaki Ruji, stuck out his tongue and barked towards the enemy stronghold. He casually flicked a short blade from his pocket. 2 dark figures emerged. One was a red-faced demon with long, blood-red horns and a fierce appearance, Shotan Toji. The other was a green-skinned, horned creature wielding a weapon, a representation of a fierce warrior. The 2 demons stood side by side, and the once bright sky grew ominously dark, reflecting their formidable power. It was clear they were not ordinary foes. My goodness, that old man could summon 500 soldiers. He was definitely not a mere student. Even in our homeland, he would be a top-tier warrior. But the old man was nothing compared to the one with the gold chain. He was the real freak. Although he couldn't summon soldiers, his unique physique allowed him to awaken dual heroes. Such talent is rare, even in our nation. The power they unleashed stunned the entire crowd. Not even the teachers and principals from the schools in our land had witnessed such fierce combat prowess. Even the civil and military officials from the neighboring country were unaware of the true strength of these 2 individuals. In the army's main camp, they would be considered generals. Meanwhile, regarding the reinforcements on the mountain, Su Bai stood firmly on the rocks, chest out and head held high, showing no signs of fear. At the same time, 2 figures arrived, Chen Chao and Wang Xiaohu. These 2 had been waiting at home for news of battle, and after sending scouts to investigate, they discovered that Su Bai had already reached the enemy's stronghold. If they didn't assist now, they would miss out on the thrilling twist of this battle. Hundreds of fierce tigers roared at the foot of the mountain, startling all the creatures in the area, releasing an overwhelming aura of menace. Meanwhile, the ice mammoth from Chinchao's side was freezing the air around it with each step. Even the ground beneath its feet began to harden with frost. This colossal beast wielded its long weapon without fear of the strong foes above. The two men readied their formation, waiting for Su Bai's command to strike down the enemy leader. Su Bai took an AK from a mobilized soldier and fired a shot into the sky, echoing the chaos of the world. Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu led their massive forces forward like a raging wildfire. At the same time, the enemy issued a total assault order. Like a torrential downpour accompanied by flying sand and stones, they charged forward with a cacophony of battle cries, crashing into each other. The two sides fought fiercely, with the sounds of clashing swords and steel echoing throughout the valley. Today, Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu, following that night at Songyun Ridge, have significantly increased their levels and strengthened their forces, matching the formidable troops led by the old man. Their rapid advancement in strength is evident. To the death, no retreat, no surrender. Unleash fury, destroy everything. My fierce blue-eyed tiger. Wang Xiaohu and Chen Xiao coordinated effectively, commanding their troops to charge into battle, turning the entire mountain into a river of blood. The green hills were stained red with the bodies of soldiers from both sides. This mountain became a graveyard soaked in blood. Unfortunately, their forces were outnumbered, and with the presence of two heroes on the opposing side, they gradually began to falter. At this moment, the last bomb specialist boarded the anti-aircraft tracked vehicle. After counting the numbers, Su Bai decisively ordered everyone withdraw from both sides and clear the way up the mountain. Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu felt reluctant, but now was not the time to be stubborn. They commanded their troops to retreat from the flanks as the anti-aircraft vehicles charged towards the enemy lines. Humph! Foolish! Tengu! Block them! The blood-soaked Tengu with a knife fork stepped forward, kicking up a cloud of dust. The ground shook as the Tengu retracted the knife fork, instantly rendering the anti-aircraft vehicle behind it inoperable. 5 bomb specialists crawled out of the vehicle. Turning back, they seemed not quite dead. A shadow of blood was cast as one bomb specialist was lifted by the Tengu over its head, showcasing its overwhelming power. Foolish! You dare send a defenseless human to fight me. Seeking death. Yamazaki Ruji laughed maniacally, reveling in the fact that the enemy had run out of troops. Weak. Too weak. This nation has always been the sick man of the region. Haha. Except this bomb. The bomb specialist, impaled and in chaos, detonated his explosive vest. The other bomb specialists rushed in as well, resulting in a series of explosions echoing through the valley. As the smoke cleared, the Tengu, battered and half-kneeling, relied on its knife fork for support. Before it stood the bomb specialist, who had just moments ago seemed weak, pulling the pin on another bomb. The triumphant Yamazaki Ruji spat blood, feeling as if his insides had been repeatedly struck. This was a sign of impending doom for heroes. In the midst of the battlefield, bomb specialists bravely activated their self-destruct vests. The entire mountaintop was lifted by the force of the explosions, causing a landslide. The command center at the summit tilted as a result. The situation was on the verge of collapse. Shoto Toji, eliminate them all. Yamazaki Ruji crushed the gold necklace around his neck in anger. He didn't expect the enemy's desperate strike to be so powerful. An anti-aircraft tracked vehicle surged in, charging towards the command platform. For the motherland, the bomber shouted slogans. Oh no. No matter how fast Yamazaki Ruji tried to flee, he couldn't outrun Su Bai's anti-aircraft vehicle. And his heroes were all on the front lines, unable to come to his aid. Boom. 5 small mushroom clouds erupted like 5 golden flowers. The entire command platform was reduced to ashes. Debris flew everywhere. Yamazaki Ruji was instantly mangled by the explosion's heat waves coming from all directions. When the smoke cleared, only a charred corpse remained, with the gold necklace still shining brightly around his neck. Firestorm. Boom. Shoto Toji unleashed a torrent of fire, piercing through 2 anti-aircraft vehicles, causing the bombers on board to trigger their own explosions. The sound was deafening. The powerful commander, Hoki, had just recalled his troops for rotation when Shoto Toji, enraged by Yamazaki Ruji's death, immediately defected. Boom boom boom. More fire dragons erupted. Several strong warriors were engulfed by the flames. What? Hoki was taken aback. A hero has defected. The dual heroes of the Cherry Blossom Nation were unexpectedly taken down by these desperate human soldiers. What a disgraceful death. Meanwhile, Hoki tore off his North Shimizu school uniform, revealing his true martial arts attire. He tightened the black belt around his waist, a symbol of mastery reflecting on his back. In an instant, he became a deadly force. Although he was a powerful commander of strong warriors, his personal strength was unfathomable. After all, at 65 years old, he had risen to level 39 through years of training, with a strength of 200. His vitality soared to 1150, making him the king of strength among commanders. After a few exchanges, a thunderous punch struck, shaking the earth. The furious wind from his punch howled, seemingly capable of destroying everything. Countless shadows of punches rained down towards Shototoji. The force was overwhelming, and the traitorous hero had already turned into experience, absorbed into Hoki's body. A true powerhouse. A physical combat hero. Terrifying indeed. With the internal issue resolved, Hoki rallied his forces, swiftly commanding the remaining warriors to return to their positions. At the same time, Tsubai issued the final sprint command. All Rhino tanks. All mobilized soldiers. All magnetic storm infantry. All terror robots. And 2 ox carts. Charge. At the same time, Chen Xiao and Wang Xiaohu were commanding their remaining forces to attack the enemy. This powerful force coalesced into a fist. The strange, brute force of martial arts troops struggled against this overwhelming assault. Soon, one by one they fell. On the battlefield, only the enemy leader remained. With a miraculous spinning kick, he decapitated a fierce beast from behind. Then, he leaped up, delivering a powerful kick that knocked over a massive creature weighing 5 to 6 tons. His display of bravery left all spectators in awe. So strong. Too strong. Many felt inadequate in the presence of such a powerful commander. This level of combat strength could only be matched by the old general sitting nearby. Boom. A sneaky terror robot shattered, its circuits flying everywhere. Ha! Who else? Who else? Several arcs of blue and yellow electricity surged forth, and the frenzied leader was immediately struck down, convulsing on the ground and foaming at the mouth. The overwhelming dominance he had just displayed vanished in an instant. Behind him, Professor Yang was still adjusting the intensity of the Tesla coil's lightning. No matter how high one's martial arts skills, everyone fears a knife, especially when you're playing with firearms. Stop showing off and open fire. Tsubai commanded. The Rhino tank troops prepared for a coordinated attack. Bang 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 bang. The area where the enemy leader was located was blasted into a huge pit. At this moment, the entire mountain could no longer hold its ground. It began to sway and tremble. Withdraw to a safe area. All forces began to retreat. Then came a thunderous crash. Huge rocks started rolling down from the mountaintop, and the mountain split in two. The cement command post at the summit also broke apart and rolled down. The entire process lasted 3 minutes. As dust settled and smoke cleared, the enemy's main base in the Valley of Kings rolled down from the peak. Amidst the ruins, the prince barely escaped under the protection of his companion. Tsubai would certainly not let the son of the emperor go easily. He quickly gathered forces to encircle the two heavily. Don't resist, at least it will make your death more comfortable. Tsubai stepped forward. At that moment, a loudspeaker echoed in the air, representing the opposing side. Tsubai, we, the Cherry Blossom Empire, have declared you the victor. Please allow the prince to leave with dignity. Damn it, so close. I almost sent that prince to the shrine. Meanwhile, a man with a severed arm gritted his teeth. His eyes burning with fury directed at Tsubai. You beast. Tsubai? Tsubai was taken aback. The voice sounded familiar, reminiscent of that night on Songyun Ridge. The escaping figure from that evening. Looking at this person's arm, one was broken, and the wound was quite similar to those inflicted by his terrifying robots. However, this person's face was different from that of the figure from that night. Could it be that the person was wearing a human skin mask? Do you recognize me? Does that mean we met on Songyun Ridge? Yamamoto Koji gritted his teeth and squeezed out a few words. You ruined my plans. I couldn't avenge my grandfather Yamamoto Ifu for the battle on Songyun Ridge. I didn't kill all the people from Songyun Ridge who helped the independent regiment back then. But next time, I will definitely kill them. Tsubai understood everything. The person he encountered that night was a descendant of Yamamoto, wanting to break the seal from that year and massacre the local populace. Since that was the case, he ordered all soldiers to aim their guns. Hey, don't act rashly. Your country has already won. Continuing to fight is against the rules. Bang, bang, bang. Gunfire erupted. Cannons fired. The gunshots ceased. The cannon fire stopped. Prince Shitoku and Yamamoto Koji were reduced to mere pieces of flesh, scattered in this King's Canyon. Li Yunlong, are you declaring war on our nation? Yamamoto was furious. He witnessed Tsubai kill his own grandson, Yamamoto Koji, and the son of the emperor, Prince Shitoku. At this moment, Li Yunlong was also filled with rage. He glared at Yamamoto with a fierce intensity, exuding a powerful killing intent. This kind of aura could only emerge from someone like the military god Li Yunlong, who had slaughtered thousands. Mr. Yamamoto, on the battlefield, swords have no eyes. It's not something that can be resolved with mere words. If you wish to declare war on us, then let us fight. Even though Yamamoto was furious, he dared not act recklessly. After all, he was currently in enemy territory, and his life was in the hands of Li Yunlong and his companions. Meanwhile, the victors, Tsubai, Wang Xiaohu, Chen Xiao, and the remaining 2 severely injured students, strode in majestically. Yamamoto pointed at Tsubai's face and questioned loudly, I said stop. Why aren't you stopping? His voice was hysterical and carried a strong killing intent. Subai merely scratched his ear, a smile appearing on his face. Arigato, Fei Yangyang. What are you saying? Wang Xiaohu quickly interjected, Yamamoto Taikuan, during the battle. Subai's ears were deafened and he didn't hear the enemy surrender or the announcement to stop the match. Chapter 68. Honor Against the Odds. Subai received the rank of marshal. As soon as these words were spoken, Yamamoto lost his breath and rolled his eyes. Because he was deaf and couldn't hear the end of the match or the enemy's surrender, even if this matter were brought to an international organization, he wouldn't win the case. General Yamamoto, General Yamamoto. Doctor. Hurry, doctor. Ambulance, ambulance. Subai, you rascal, let's go. Let's have some sweet potato liquor. Zhang Daipio, go inform the canteen to prepare some good dishes, peanuts, fennel beans, and a roast chicken. I want to drink well with this kid. Yes. The match concluded. Originally a best-of-5 series, but due to the death of a key figure, the bets have been settled. With the loss of a significant location, the remaining match lost all meaning. Therefore, the school leaders and military representatives began to award the brave students. The fallen. Remember the martyrs with first-class merit. Enter the martyrs' shrine. The families will be supported by the government for life. Provincial governments will promote their heroic deeds for 3 days. A reward of 10 million. The first batch of surviving students and 2 others from the second batch. These 3 are awarded the Courageous Combat Award. They receive the Courageous Squad Medal. Agility 3. A reward of 10 million. Wang Xiaohu and Chun Chao assisted Subai in achieving a decisive victory. They are awarded the highest youth medal of the Dragon Country. This medal is only awarded once per province each year. This time, an exception was made for the 2. A reward of 10 million. The youth medal, just like the one Director Chi gave to Subai, is equally precious. It allows one to perceive enemies up to 10 levels higher than themselves. It is a truly extraordinary treasure. The 2 were overjoyed. This was not just the joy of obtaining a treasure, but also the constant flashing of media cameras. Honor. This kind of honor is more precious than life itself. Subsequently, the presenter read out Subai's name. Under the spotlight, there was a moment of silence. All major media outlets wanted to catch a glimpse of the young scholar who achieved true victory and what kind of kingly demeanor he possessed. After waiting for about 3 minutes, no one came to the stage. The host awkwardly said, Subai has matters to attend to and cannot accept the award in person. But for such high honor, we cannot withhold it just because no one is here to accept it. Subai? Awarded the highest martial award in the nation. Awarded the martial level shoulder insignia. Prize money. 10 million. All media outlets were in an uproar. The Martial Award. This is the highest award among all national awards. It can be said that only those who played a decisive role in gaining territory during wartime can receive such an award. Subai just defeated the representative team of a certain country in an international competition. Yet he was able to receive such a high honor. Moreover, the shining martial shoulder insignia left everyone in shock. Wearing this insignia on his shoulder, not only has his vitality increased by 500 points, but he also possesses an extraordinary skill called Killing Intent Unleashed. Note, for every enemy unit killed by the overall team, attack speed increases by 1, with a maximum increase of 100. This skill is specially designed for the killing god. The more frenzied you are, the stronger you become. Countless people are envious of this ultimate equipment. Many high-ranking officers in the military have spent their entire lives dreaming of it. Now, such a rare piece of equipment has been handed to Subai. Yet, this young man surprisingly did not show up to claim it. Who is Subai? Why is he so mysterious? The live broadcast from the central media quickly flooded the chat room. No way. Did I see that correctly? A marshal's rank insignia given to a student. He might be the youngest recipient in the country. I've spent my whole life in the military, and the highest rank I ever achieved was lieutenant colonel, and that was only because I participated in fraud cleanup operations in a neighboring country. Lieutenant colonel is already impressive. After graduating from school, my rank only rose to sergeant and hasn't changed since. You're a lieutenant colonel? I'm just a sergeant, okay? Stop boasting. Sergeant? I'm a private. Who dares to challenge me? Don't be jealous. Didn't you hear the host say? This time, Subai's victory also involved the sovereignty issue of our revered land, which greatly benefits our country. Hence he received the Marshal S insignia. Wow, I want that insignia. If I return to my village, all the matchmakers will come to propose to me. Proposing? With that insignia, maybe even if I commit a crime, I won't get caught. Compared to that, the 10 million prize is trivial. That's true. Just after the central media broadcast ended, trending topics on social media quickly overshadowed it. News about Subai rapidly topped the charts. First, the international arena competition, our esteemed academy in the magical city won, and Subai played a decisive role. Second, why didn't Subai go on stage to accept the award? Who is he? Third, the youngest recipient of the martial insignia in our country. Not only the top 3, but all 110 trending topics were related to Su Bai. Comments reached 500,000. Approaching 600,000. Everyone was discussing this suddenly rising star. Who is he? Why didn't he accept the award? How does his achievement rank since the establishment of the country? Amidst this extraordinary discussion, Su Bai was not part of it. Instead, he sat cross-legged in an old house, clinking glasses with the weathered General Li Yunlong, drinking homemade sweet potato liquor. This liquor is quite strong. It goes down like a fiery line in your belly, not only burning your throat, but also causing some heartburn. The young man said, back during the War of Resistance, being able to have a sip of sweet potato liquor was enough to keep one awake at night. Many of my brothers didn't even know if they could have a drink during the holidays. At this point, General Yunlong's eyes glistened, and the rims of his eyes turned slightly red, as he seemed to recall the many comrades who sacrificed their lives in battle. General Yunlong, are you all right? Oh, it's nothing. Just that the window wasn't closed properly, and some sand blew in. A little rub, and it's gone. Su Bai, you've really achieved great merit this time. I never expected that the grandson of Yamamoto would seek revenge on the people of Songyun Ridge. Thanks to you. Otherwise, if he succeeded, I would feel even more guilty towards the fallen comrades, Zhuzi, Hashang, Xiuqin, and other soldiers. At this point, even the toughest man would have a soft spot. General Yunlong and the many martyrs who sacrificed themselves contributed indelibly to defeating the invaders. Without them, there would be no birth of a new nation. Perhaps we would still be enslaved by the invaders today. Su Bai deeply understood this. Therefore, when it came to the provocations from the neighboring country, he took decisive action. At that moment, General Li Yunlong pulled out a redwood box from beneath him and gently opened it. A silvery gleam shone. Su Bai opened his eyes wide and discovered it was a Browning M1900 pistol. Chapter 69. The Commander's Drink. Sour, sweet, bitter, spicy, joy, anger, sorrow, and happiness. Su Bai trembled all over, his shock evident. He knew that such modern weapons did not exist in this world. Even through mobile phones, computers, media, and books, he had never seen a real firearm from his own world. This Browning M1900 could be considered a legendary weapon. Su Bai hesitated, unsure if this was a real gun. To his surprise, General Li Yunlong was equally astonished. Such a divine object, and this young man actually recognized it. Moreover, this item was rare in the world, and Li Yunlong only knew of this one in front of him. This kid is surprisingly knowledgeable, even aware of this. Indeed, it could be referred to as a weapon of the future, far more advanced than traditional bows and firearms. However, unlike the summoned soldiers, it did not possess infinite ammunition. You and I, old and young, are fated. This gun is a gift for you. Su Bai's mouth dropped open. This item must be extremely precious. Although he liked it very much, he did not wish to take something cherished by others, especially something that General Yunlong had treasured for many years. This gun is very important to you, right? More important than life. Back in the war, my brother Chiunfai and I fought together on this land. We were both enemies and friends, but ultimately we fought to the death. This gun is one of the two relics he manifested, and he gave it to me. As heroes cherish heroes. Since then, we have been separated by death. Chiunfai. Upon hearing that name, Su Bai felt a chill run down his spine. He knew that this person was also a hero of the resistance. A remarkable figure. However, back in the day, he had fought on a different side from General Yunlong. Their ideologies clashed. Now, this old hero had passed away. Such a precious item, Su Bai dared not accept. This item is too valuable. I cannot take it. Unexpectedly, Li Yunlong's temper flared up. He slammed the table and pointed at Su Bai, berating him. Stop your nonsense. If I give it to you, just take it. Don't be so hesitant. This is fate for both of us. But more importantly, I see the shadow of Chu Yunfei in you, and your soldiers. The first bullet they fired, I knew you were connected to the bullets in this relic. Indeed, this gun, if it were to continue firing bullets, would depend on the supply from his own soldiers. General Yunlong calmed down. In my hands. It is like a pearl covered in dust. If you take it, it would be put to good use. Su Bai nodded and took the handgun. In the next moment, the powerful attributes of the relic manifested. Item name, Browning M1900, relic. Attack power, 300 to 800. Bullet count, 07. Built-in skill, rapid critical strike. Note, fires a burst of bullets at an extremely fast speed, dealing 200 damage to the target. Can be used on multiple targets. Built-in skill, charge call. Note, fires a bullet into the sky as a charge call, increasing the overall movement speed of the troops by 100 for 1 minute. Built-in skill, precision shooting. Note, after using this weapon, automatically gains the passive skill of precision shooting, increasing shooting accuracy by 80. Wow. The attributes of this weapon are too powerful. Just the attack power of 300 to 800 means pulling the trigger could take down an opponent in one shot. When meeting an enemy, before they could summon their troops, they would already be caught off guard. The key point is that with an 80 passive accuracy, it would be hard to miss. Moreover, That critical hit combo fires 7 bullets at once. Even enemy heroes would kneel down in tears. Indeed, this weapon lives up to its attributes. It's incredibly powerful. Truly a national treasure. But as General Yunlong said, without bullets, this artifact cannot be wielded. After accepting the gun, Subai had a few rounds of drinks with Li Yuanchao before returning to school. Once at school, he did not head straight to the dormitory, but instead went to the back mountain. This relic in hand, without bullets, everything was equivalent to 0. So he arrived at a deserted place and summoned a mobilized soldier. He tried to fit the bullets from the mobilized soldier into the Browning, but unfortunately, the bullet sizes were different and couldn't be inserted. Then he produced an anti-aircraft soldier that even dogs would disdain. This guy came out carrying a coal cannon. Do you have a gun? I have a cannon. Then do you have a gun? I have a cannon. Get lost. Now it was a bit awkward, as there were no suitable bullets. Subai thought that the bullets produced by the Allied forces' small pistols might fit this one, or perhaps the exquisite blonde, Tanya. With her 2 small pistols might be a match. However, there was no spare space, and it was all just talk. Therefore, he decided to remedy the situation by ordering 2 ox carts. His funds were instantly depleted because there had been continuous battles recently, and there was no extra money for reinforcements. Subsequently, he could only consult the versatile engineer. An engineer was produced. Can bullets be produced for this gun? The engineer took the Browning and said, Commander, we can produce them. Without a mold, we can only make them by hand. If you give it to me, I can produce 7 or 8 bullets a day. Upon hearing this, Subai was overjoyed. He immediately produced 2 more engineers to hand-make the bullets. However, the engineer mentioned that there was only enough time today to create a bullet sample, and the Browning would need to be tested. If all went well, they could produce bullets by tomorrow. Subai wasn't in a hurry, so he handed the Browning over to the engineer and then went to see Director Kai. The martial medal that Subai had obtained earlier was currently stored with Director Kai. As soon as they met, the other party warmly shook Subai's hand. The previous aura of commanding troops was gone, replaced by a friendly and approachable demeanor. Director Kai even took out a camera and asked Subai to put on his shoulder insignia for a photo. Subai was quite accommodating. Director Kai informed him that there would be another awards ceremony at the school tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock, and he must attend. Subai didn't say much in response. After all, he had wanted to be on television last time, but drinking with General Yunlong was more important. The next day, Subai donned his martial insignia and tidied himself up, preparing to head out. At that moment, an engineer from his stone sea called out to him. Is it done? So soon? He released one of the engineers, who informed Subai that the sample had been completed and the bullets had been tested. This Browning is no longer needed. It is already loaded with 7 bullets. Subai nodded, tucked the Browning into his waist, and headed to the school's auditorium. Chapter 70. Only Subai would dare to execute a teacher in front of the principal. Classmate Subai, along with these other students, are the role models among this year's freshmen. We are now awarding them the rank of first-class sergeant. The sound of applause erupted. The thousands of students in the audience were envious. They directly received the rank of sergeant, and it was the top rank. According to the school's graduation regulations, first-year students typically receive the rank of private. Only after successfully completing the second year can they earn the rank of corporal. It is only upon graduation that they can achieve the rank of sergeant. Moreover, this sergeant rank is divided into 3 levels, with the highest being first-class sergeant. To earn these ranks, one must go through evaluations across the school, and only the most outstanding individuals can attain the first-class sergeant rank. Unexpectedly, these freshmen graduated with the best results. Principal Chin personally awarded Su by his rank. There is a groove next to Subai's martial insignia where the official rank is embedded. The rank insignia grants 15 to strength, 15 to agility, and 15 to defense. Indeed, it is an official rank, boosting all 3 attributes by 15 points. At that moment, a man walked in. It was the grade leader, Teacher Shen, who had been penalized by the school for misconduct. He kicked open the door and, under everyone's gaze, strode to the front of the stage, smirking at the school leaders. Principal Chin, how can a trash student like Subai get an award and honor? Teacher Shun, to be honest, the school has decided to expel you. Please complete the handover work for this month and go to Human Resources for compensation. This was due to Teacher Shun previously throwing away a letter from General Yunlong meant for the principal, which almost caused Subai to miss his chance to compete in the international contest. Principal Chin was not only scolded by General Yunlong, but also received a serious reprimand. Naturally, when leaders suffer, they pass it down to their subordinates. Teacher Shun was immediately relieved of his position as grade leader and was told to finish his tasks and leave. You can't get rid of me. I already have a better place to go. I just came back today to get something. Principal Chin was puzzled. What thing? The letter of allegiance. Subai's head on the chopping block. With a snap of his fingers, a loud bang echoed from the auditorium's dome, followed by wooden blocks falling down. A fierce fire broke out. This place has already been surrounded by my fuel-throwing troops, siege units. You should know what this means, right? Principal Chin certainly understands what this means. The firepower of siege troops is extremely high, causing great damage to buildings. It seems that Teacher Shun has taken thousands of students here as hostages, demanding Su Bai deliver a head. Otherwise, none of the teachers and students can leave alive. You. No, 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 don't act rashly. If you don't kill me with one blow, everyone will pay the price for me. Oh, really? Su Bai laughed. Teacher Shun has been tripping him up ever since Su Bai entered the school. Now he actually wants to threaten the lives of all the teachers and students. Just right. It's time for his Browning to make a move. Just when he was worried about not finding anyone to kill, someone was eager to test the gun. Looking at Su Bai, who was unfazed and even smiled, Teacher Shun felt a bad premonition. However, he understood Su Bai's strength. He had so many hostages in hand. Moreover, he had come prepared today, wearing a special combat armor that could retain 3 points of health after receiving a fatal blow. So, as long as anyone present dared to act rashly, everyone would die. However, he overlooked the relic in Su Bai's hand, the Browning M1900. Suddenly, Su Bai drew his pistol from his waist and activated the built-in skill of the relic, Rapid Critical Strike. Bang, 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 bang. In less than a second, 7 bullets accurately struck Teacher Shun. A powerful figure of the grade level fell, blood spilling on the spot, ending his evil fate. Principal Chin was splattered with blood, his expression somewhat terrified. What? This Su Bai? Killing without a word. He is too reckless. And in front of all the teachers and students. Although Teacher Shun was guilty of great crimes, wasn't he it just because he was unhappy with the low pay after resigning? Couldn't they just talk it out instead of resorting to killing? All the students were shocked. They had been in school for over 10 years and had never seen such open murder by Su Bai. It was a complete overturn, a shock, until Director Kai shouted. The enemy troops have rebelled and are randomly attacking nearby buildings. Everyone take this chance to escape. With Teacher Shun dead, his troops all rebelled, starting to attack nearby buildings aimlessly. The entire campus turned into a sea of fire. Although it was tragic, at least these soldiers would not concentrate their fire on the auditorium where everyone was gathered. All the students rushed out, unleashing their various troops to eliminate Teacher Shun's rebel forces. Just as Principal Chin was on the verge of breaking down, a group of men in military uniforms pushed the door open. Leading them was Zhang Dabiao. He raised a wanted poster. Upon investigation, it was found that the head of the grade, Shun Xueming, had colluded with the enemy and leaked confidential information to a foreign nation, suspected of murdering our nation's meritorious individuals. Principal Chin, where is Shun Xueming? Huh. Principal Chin looked at the corpse at his feet, his CPU completely fried and unable to function. Zhang Dabiao was also taken aback and asked, who killed him? I did. So it was you. He, heroic youth. I thought no matter how capable this head of the grade was, he wouldn't be someone recognized by General Yunlong. Come on, let us go have a drink later. You tell me how you killed this traitor. It turned out that, according to reliable intelligence, the traitor Zhao Haoyin was approached by Teacher Shun before he fled. Teacher Shun told him that he had no way out. Zhao Haoyin then told Teacher Shun that if he killed Su Bai, he would grant him citizenship of the foreign nation and guarantee wealth and honor. In the end, Teacher Shun accepted this suggestion. When Zhao Haoyin was escaping, he picked up the head of the prince who had been blown to pieces and safely returned it to the foreign nation. The emperor rewarded him for this. This guy had some incredible luck and got back on his feet. That's why Teacher Shun believed him. Su Bai was aware of this matter and couldn't help but feel that this guy actually survived that war. His luck was indeed tough. However, next time, he better not run into me. Otherwise, he will die a very ugly death. Su Bai, today I came to inform you of another matter. The sovereignly confirmed Penglai Island is about to open its instance, and as the most important meritorious individual, you are allowed to enter and participate. Make sure to level up inside and contribute some rare equipment for the nation. After speaking, Zhang Dabiao raised his glass and clinked it with Su Bai's. Chapter 71, Penglai Island. Encountering a noble family's heir, a rumor quickly spread throughout the school. That is, Su Bai was indeed from a prominent family. And killing a teacher in broad daylight wouldn't be a crime. However, Su Bai was unaware of this. After all, the person he killed was a traitor. The authorities had already been notified, and he was completely innocent. On the eve of heading to Penglai Island, Director Kai gave Su Bai his final reward. He ranked first in grade level. Due to the previous battle against a certain nation, Su Bai had killed a significant number of enemy soldiers, and his level had smoothly reached level 23. This time, the school distributed 2 secret silver treasure chests. One was an equipment chest, and the other was a money chest. The equipment inside was naturally random. Su Bai didn't hesitate and directly opened it. Ding. Acquired General Tianwei's armor. Ding. Acquired Moon in the Well. Ding. Acquired Purple Cloud Golden Plate military boots. 3 pieces of equipment. Among them, the General Tianwei's armor and the Purple Cloud Golden Plate military boots are quite decent. So, while they may not be top-tier equipment, they are still considered high-quality blue items. However, the attributes of the moon in the Well-Great Sword are lacking significantly. But for such ancient equipment, Su Bai is not particularly interested. Therefore, he placed the General Tianwei's armor and the purple cloud golden plate military boots into the refining magic box. This magic box allows you to invest a certain amount of gold coins to inherit the attributes of one piece of equipment onto another. Of course, this is something only the wealthy can afford. With Su Bai currently having 10 million in cash, he can easily afford the fusion of equipment. He placed the two customized pieces inside. Refinement. Type 81 military uniform. Inherit original equipment attributes. Defense, 25. Health, 30. Not bad. Type 81 military boots. Inherit original equipment attributes. Defense, 8. Agility, 2. Su Bai then equipped these two pieces of equipment. He tied the moon in the Well-Great Sword with a red ribbon and slung it over his back. A Browning M1900 was strapped to his waist. He had intentionally gotten a short haircut, making him look spirited and capable. His demeanor radiated confidence. At this moment, his attributes had further enhanced. Character level, LV23, Strength, 83, Agility, 50, Defense, 42, Health, 595. With these attributes, he could rank among the top 50 in the school's attribute leaderboard. 2 days later, Su Bai set foot on the land of Penglai Island. Initially, he thought he had made significant contributions and would enjoy this dungeon solo for some casual training. However, upon arriving on the island, he found there were additional people present. After introductions, Su Bai learned that these two were the real third-generation heirs. One was named Jiang Shaoqing, the son of the Yanhuang commander, who held a strong position in the north of the country, resisting the invasion of northern tribes. The commander commanded the three armies and held substantial military power. The other was named Zhuge Fengyun, whose father was an important cabinet minister involved in military affairs. These two were genuine scions of prominent families. Additionally, there was someone Su Bai actually recognized. As soon as they met, the other party immediately took Su Bai's hands. The touch warm and gentle. Qi Tiantian, what are you doing here? Before Qi Tiantian could respond. Beside him, Jiang Shaoqing took the initiative to speak. Tiantian is with me. After all, with the sovereignty of Penglai Island being returned and the secret realm dungeon reopening, who else could I bring if not Tiantian? The tone of this statement made it sound like Jiang Shaoqing was Tiantian's boyfriend. Qi Tiantian smiled and denied it. I actually didn't want to come. If it weren't for you pressuring my dad, why would I waste my time coming with you? Zhuge Fengyun quickly mediated the situation. All right, the dungeon is about to open. Just enter in the original formation. And you, the civilian, be careful. If anything happens, we won't be able to help you. He then muttered a few more words quietly. I don't know what the higher-ups are thinking, letting a civilian come along. There was always a sense of superiority in their words. However, for someone like Su Bai, who was born with a silver spoon, it really didn't matter. He had seen enough of such people in society. As they entered the dungeon, Jiang Shaoqing waved his hand, and countless golden lights shot out. Hundreds of armored elf cavalrymen stood tall, holding spears, waiting for orders. On the other side, Su Bai also waved his hand, summoning rhino tanks and mixed magnetic storm infantry to his front. However, the light they emitted was white. Jiang Shaoqing laughed. What is going on today? Not only did they send a civilian, but it's also this ordinary human who is not even on your level. I say, Su Bai, while maintaining peace and eliminating thieves is our duty, we need to hunt monsters and search for treasures here. We don't have time to take care of you. So just stay here and wait for us. Qi Tiantian immediately ran over to Su Bai. Jiang, you don't need to worry. Su Bai will be protected by me. Tiantian, don't throw a tantrum. Zhuge Fengyun waved his hand. Forget it, let us go together. As they moved forward a few steps, various high-level beasts in the area were startled. Thousands of island giant lizards surged towards them like a tsunami. Jiang Shaojia raised an eyebrow, unable to help but frown. There are so many. Zhuge Fengyun didn't he expect that as soon as they entered, monsters would flood in like a tide. He quickly summoned his special troops, the Chiman Bagua Shield soldiers. I'll use my strongest defense to block the first wave, and your cavalry should break through from both flanks to encircle them. Zhuge Fengyun immediately set up the formation. However, Su Bai showed no response. He simply invited Qi Tingting into his air defense vehicle, smiling as he said, just sit inside and wait for experience points. Su Bai took out a Browning pistol and fired a shot into the sky. All units, accelerate for 1 minute. Soon, they all entered safe shooting positions. Fire. Bang, bang, bang. The continuous sounds rang out. Bullets rained down, causing the surrounding giant lizards to howl in agony. Shells whistled out, creating loud explosions. The giant island lizard that charged forward was blown to pieces. One person and one squad managed to withstand the onslaught of all the monsters. Moreover, his troops grew braver as they fought on, seemingly increasing their attack speed as well. In the end, they moved like a swift wind, sweeping away the clouds. They shifted from a defensive stance to an offensive one, taking the initiative to strike back, pushing the group of monsters into retreat. Subai's forces kept advancing, pursuing relentlessly and leaving no living creature behind, as every kill contributed to Subai's experience. Zhuge Fengyun gaped in disbelief. He never expected Subai's human troops to be so formidable. Fortunately, he inherited his father's shrewdness and wisdom, never making hasty decisions about anyone. Indeed, those who could come to this island were either as distinguished as he was or possessed extraordinary strength like that young man. Chapter 72. Activating the radar, full-screen surveillance. As if blessed with divine perspective. Beside him, Jiang Shaoqing's eyes were filled with envy. The top beauty of the capital's Imperial Guard Academy had actually gotten into that commoner's vehicle. She had never even entered the Bugatti Veyron he usually drove. Yet she was in this oddly shaped, shabby car. Gritting his teeth, he shouted at the anti-aircraft armored vehicle, "Sweetie, wait for me here. Once I defeat the boss here, I'll bring you the most precious treasure." As soon as he finished speaking, a golden light flashed. Beneath him, a golden steed appeared, and Jiang Shaoqing summoned the dragon's spear from his storage ring, twirling it skillfully. With a squeeze of the horse's flank, he commanded, "Charge! Attack!" As for Subai, he had no intention of provoking any noble families. It was better for both sides to level up separately, after all, that way the experience wouldn't be split. Besides, the map of Penglai Island was vast enough to accommodate both parties. In the capital, the emperor lamented, "My son, you died such a tragic death. Your Majesty, please do not be sad. There is now an opportunity for revenge, and I have already set the plan in motion," said Prime Minister Abe Harawaki, standing beside the emperor. "A ninja squad I dispatched has already infiltrated the vicinity of Penglai Island. I heard the son of the commander of the Dragon Nation, Yin Huang, is on the island, along with the son of a high-ranking official. When the time is right, our stealthy ninjas will land and avenge the prince." On the other side, aboard the invincible battleship Jiao Long, a strong wind arose. "Take down the sails." At the bow of this massive dragon-class treasure ship, Li Yuanchao turned to Li Yunlong. "Dad, you're now a free spirit. Why do you still want to add Subai's name to the list? This kind of thing is usually done by those from noble families. You little brat, can't you see Subai's potential?" I reported it, adding his name, feeling that he has a chance to obtain the Tiger Talisman and advance to the rank of Super Soldier. The so-called advancement to Super Soldier refers to exceeding the number of troops allowed for a certain level. Normally, after awakening a troop type, the maximum number of units a person can carry is linked to their level. If you are at level 10, the maximum troop count is 100. At level 20, it would be 200. However, if one becomes a super soldier, they can break through the level limitations and increase the number of troops they can command. Of course, this requires rare items from high-level dungeons, specifically the Tiger Talisman. Those who obtain the Tiger Talisman can see a qualitative increase in their troop count. A Bronze Tiger Talisman can double the troop count. A Silver Tiger Talisman can triple it. A Gold Tiger Talisman can quintuple it. Naturally, these precious items are extremely rare, especially the Gold Tiger Talisman, which is nearly impossible to find. The cannon fire. The Rhino tank unleashed a barrage, and a peach tree giant over 5 meters tall fell to the ground, engulfed in flames. Obtained, Pan Tao X5. Obtained, 334 gold coins. Obtained, Peachwood Sword. Picking up the Peachwood Sword and examining it, the attributes were disappointing. Subai casually tossed it aside and picked up the Pan Tao. Item name, Pan Tao. One-time item. Permanently increases health by 1 point upon use. Indeed. This is the Isle of Penglai. Defeating an elite-level monster drops permanent attribute items. However, this 1 point of health is utterly useless given the numerous structures within Subai's body. Tian, eat a peach. Ah, brother Subai. Such a precious item for me. I can't afford it. Don't be silly. How about this? You eat too, and I eat too, and both sides can handle it. Subai's gaze roamed up and down Tian. Realizing that this girl is quite impressive, her proportions absolutely perfect. Tian blushed, aware of Subai's intentions but hesitant to agree. "All right," she whispered. "Come, I'll feed you." After finishing Subai's peach, it was time to switch. At this moment, Subai's internal radar issued a warning. Warning. 15 targets advancing towards Jiang Shaoqing's troops. Warning. 8 targets advancing towards Zhuge Fengyun's troops. Warning. 3 targets advancing towards Subai's troops. On the map, 3 different red armies were approaching. Now, with the radar activated, Subai could scan areas already explored within the dungeon map. Of course, unexplored areas remained shrouded in the fog of war, displayed as a black screen on the map. At this moment, the map of the Fairyland Island only reveals the tip of the iceberg after the 3 have separated to explore. They discovered that enemies were advancing along the routes they had previously explored. After all, Jiang Shaoqing and Zhuge Fengyun are still considered allies of Subai. They can still share information through the radar map. Upon checking the radar map, they found that all these people were flying the flag of a certain country. Without needing to guess, Subai already understood what was happening. It must be the return of sovereignty over Fairyland Island. These people were unwilling to accept it. They sent some soldiers to sneak onto the island to kill and cause destruction. If these individuals were caught later, the representatives of that country would claim that another unit had forgotten to notify them about remaining on the island. At most, it would be considered a misunderstanding. This tactic was something that country had used effectively during their defeat years ago. Even after their emperor had surrendered, many soldiers hid in the jungles, robbing and killing local residents. In the end, they were caught and claimed they didn't believe the surrender decree was genuine. They argued that their actions were merely fulfilling their military duties. Ultimately, they were acquitted and returned to their homeland, celebrated as heroes. Therefore, in the face of the attacking soldiers, Subai merely smiled faintly. You seek death with such reckless behavior. Regroup. What's wrong, Brother Subai? Nothing much. Just some soldiers have landed on the island. We should go meet them. Chi Tiantian was surprised upon hearing this. What are they doing here? This is our territory. What else? They've landed to kill. How could they do this? Chi Tiantian frowned and summoned 80 pepper warriors. Although her troops' damage was low, the long-range thrown pepper powder would cause many biological units to uncontrollably tear up and sneeze, disrupting the rhythm of the battle. Combined with attacks from others, it could create unexpected effects. However, for Subai, it was more appropriate to save the pepper powder for roasting lamb skewers. Just sit back and relax in the vehicle. Those soldiers can't do anything to me. Withdraw your troops. I really don't like the taste of your pepper-flavored peaches. Subai placed his hand on Chi Tiantian's shoulder, glancing downward, persistently eyeing that snowy area. Since he missed out earlier, he needed to have Chi Tiantian return to the vehicle so he could savor it properly. Chapter 73. The Rhino tank upgrades to 3 stars, firing mini nuclear shells, reducing enemies to ashes. The anti-aircraft tracked vehicle bumped along the flat grassland, heading towards the location where the 3 were looking for their target. They opened the door and got out. I heard you 3 are looking for me? The 3 on the opposite side exchanged glances. The 3 of them were indeed instructed to eliminate a minor figure. Unexpectedly, this guy came looking for them. The leader wore a ninja headband and a strange combat vest. Although her outfit was plain, it could not hide her impressive figure and long, straight black hair. The woman said, "Death comes with a reason. If you bump into the barrel of our guns, don't blame us." After speaking, she formed hand signs. Would release. Tree god descend. Hundreds of plant seeds floated out from her chest and scattered on the ground. The seeds rapidly grew, transforming into wooden figures. The other 2 also summoned their respective troops. Come forth. Ninja hounds. The toads of Myokuzen. Sage toad. As a cloud of smoke dissipated, over 500 units appeared before Subai. Chi Tiantian in the vehicle was extremely nervous. There were just too many enemy units. Could they win? Unfortunately, there was no signal in this instance, or else she could have called for help from her family or contacted Jiang Shaoqing's father, the commander of Yanwang. Subai thought, death comes with a reason. This seemed to be his line. Since they had stolen his lines, he should let them know what a true gunpoint means. All units of the Soviet army, attack. Over here, all of Subai's units mobilized as well. The mobilized soldiers and tanks opened fire simultaneously. The enemy ninja displayed a disdainful smile and glanced at the person beside him. That person commanded the ninja hounds to split from both flanks to attack Subai. At the same time, his wooden figures pressed forward. The artillery and bullets struck these wooden figures, making crackling sounds like igniting dry wood. However, after being defeated, the wooden figures would revive. The ninja hounds also charged close to Subai's mobilized troops. Ow! Ow! Mommy! We're under attack. In the blink of an eye, 7 or 8 mobilized soldiers were knocked to the ground by the ninja hounds, their throats bitten through. In the distance, the enemy's toad, wielding a steel fork, continuously hurled it in their direction. It surprisingly caused damage to the Rhino tank. However, that was where it ended. Browning pulled out his gun and fired several shots. The fierce ninja hounds let out 2 mournful howls and fell dead on the ground. Most importantly, at this moment, Subai's Rhino tank finally reached level 3. 1 shot fired, and a mushroom cloud immediately erupted in the distance, accompanied by a massive shockwave. The endlessly revivable wooden figures were blown away. The forks thrown by the toad earlier had transformed into mere ticklers after the upgrade. Charge. The Tier 3 Rhino tank resembles a mobile small nuclear missile launcher. Its attributes have been enhanced once again. Rhino tank. Strength, 15,030. Agility, 305. Defense, 8,010. Health, 800,200. Skill, basic repair. Depleted uranium shell. Note: depleted uranium shells have a high melting point and high armor-piercing capability, posing radiation hazards to soil, but the radiation equivalent is harmless to humans. Each shell adds 120 points of damage. No wonder its power is so formidable. Each shot can produce the effect of a small nuclear explosion. It has acquired the depleted uranium shell skill. It advances continuously, and even the speed of the cannon barrels on the turret has increased significantly. Boom, boom, boom. Boom, devastating bombardment all the way. The amphibious creatures are instantly reduced to pulp after being attacked by the current Tier 3 tank. Even the remnants of their corpses are now just dust. The mobilized troops regrouping behind are also continuously firing, especially the magnetic explosion infantry, which has a stronger effect against the amphibians. Their surface slime might cause a miss effect in close combat, but for the magnetic explosion infantry, it's an excellent conductor. Waves of electricity intertwine in black and white, revealing the bones, which soon turn to ashes. At this moment, the magnetic explosion infantry on the battlefield has become an unparalleled force. The electric currents strike, as swift as lightning, conducting through each target. The currents sweep away all malevolent beings, reducing them to powder. Impossible. How can this person be so strong? The strength of the opponents clearly exceeds that of the guards of the commander's son or the guards of the Zhuge family from the military council. Who exactly are they facing? This conversation reached Su Bai's ears. Su Bai smiled. I am Su Bai. Now, it's time to take lives with purpose, and I will return. Attack. Upon hearing this, the three murmured, regretting their decision. How was this arranged? They didn't even know that the murderer of the emperor's son had come to this island. Yet they had to face such a formidable opponent. This is truly a path to death. With the head of the IGA ninja clan absent, we have no chance of winning. Let us retreat. Unfortunately, no matter how fast they ran, they couldn't escape the browning in Su Bai's hands. Bang, 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 the hot breath from the gun barrel was blown away. Two were shot dead on the spot. The other was pinned underfoot by Su Bai, with the gun muzzle directly blocking her mouth. Now, when I speak, you'd better not interrupt. Tell me, what are you here for? The gun muzzle was pulled from her mouth. Cough, cough. We are here to kill the son of the commander and the son of the minister from the military council. I already said, can you spare my life? Did you just say that the head of the He family is quite formidable? Of course, I advise you to escape. She is a woman who possesses the Silver Tiger talisman, and the number of troops she can summon is 3 times that of an ordinary person. On top of that, with her group of subordinates, encountering her means certain death for you. If you let me go, I can find you a way to escape from here. Thanks. But that's not necessary. Then can I leave? Go ahead, I don't kill women. The woman got up from the ground and turned to run. Bang. She fell onto the beach, blood pooling around her. Weren't you just saying you wouldn't kill me? I don't kill women, but I do kill prisoners of war. Are you kidding? You came here specifically to kill me. Why can't I just kill you after you try to kill me? What does it matter if you're beautiful? You're still going to be killed. Su Bai crouched down and began to collect the corpses. Acquired. Ninja combat suit. Acquired. Explosive tag. Acquired. Kunai. Acquired. Ninjutsu scroll. The gear on this woman has decent attributes, though not as good as Su Bai's. Moreover, the size isn't a perfect fit, so he stored it in his storage ring to sell later. After stripping her down, he regretted that Qi Tiantian was present. He couldn't act on any strange ideas, or he would be seen as a monster. The remaining 2 corpses only had some ninja shurikens that could be recovered. There wasn't much of value since their bodies had already been blown to bits. He opened another item. Ninjutsu scroll. This thing turned out to be a good item. The woman thought I wouldn't kill her, so she kept her last trump card. How naive. What a shame, such a good body. He opened the secret technique scroll. Secret technique. 8 gates, Duanjia, single-use item. Effect. Increases melee effectiveness of all friendly melee units by 1000 for 3 minutes, followed by a state of exhaustion. Reducing attributes by 80, lasting 3 minutes. It is indeed a powerful single-use item, but all of Su Bai's troops are ranged units right now, so he can't use it yet. Then, Su Bai waved his hand and activated the skill of necromancy. A dark light descended. The wooden ninja dogs and the toad spirit that had been turned to dust by the level 3 rhino tank were all resurrected. These soldiers also possess considerable combat power and work well together. If it weren't for encountering him, with their coordination, they could wreak havoc here while slowly grinding monsters. These undead troops would also significantly enhance Su Bai's combat power, and he wouldn't have to spend any money. Let's continue exploring the depths of Prunglai Island. Shouldn't we worry about Jiang Shaoqing and the others? No need. I believe in Jiang Shao's abilities. They should be able to handle it themselves. It's pointless. They were never on the same side to begin with. Since the goal of the Cherry Blossom Nation is these 2 young nobles. What does it have to do with me? Besides, that Jiang Shaoqing clearly looks down on me. Whether I live or die has nothing to do with me. It's more important to focus on exploring the islands. There's a time limit for being here. Su Bai continued to grind monsters with Qi Tiantian, exploring the area. With the help of the radar, Su Bai would no longer get lost in this mysterious dungeon. The efficiency of progress was much higher. As they advanced, Su Bai's level smoothly reached 24. Meanwhile, Qi Tiantian's leveling up was even more rapid, skyrocketing from level 18 to level 21. Of course, Chi Tiantian was not without effort. She wholeheartedly helped Su Bai in the wild, making lunch, massaging his back, and kneading his legs. Report, Commander. Ahead in the mountains, there is a giant python, with one head and two bodies, and the length of 10 train cars. Su Bai smirked, finally finding the boss. Rest for 10 minutes. Then gather everyone for an attack. Understood. Chi Tiantian had also prepared some large meat skewers, sprinkled with fragrant cumin, and brought them to Su Bai. At this moment, two disheveled men with torn clothes emerged from the forest. They looked pained and stumbled over. One of them noticed the meat skewer in Chi Tiantian's hand and snatched it away, starting to devour it hungrily, clearly having been starved for a long time. The other man, spotting Su Bai, looked somewhat pained and couldn't help but say, Su Bai, this place is not safe. There is an enemy attack. An enemy attack. The newcomers were Jiang Shaoqing and Zhuge Fengyan. At this moment, they looked so disheveled, completely losing the earlier air of superiority and disdain. Well, if there are enemies, what do they want with me? Let's get out of here quickly. There are too many. All of them are soldiers from the opposing side. They must be lying in ambush for us. Hurry up. Hurry up. Chapter 74. No boss can withstand depleted uranium shells. If there are, then 2 shots will do. Alright. I still need to continue leveling and farming on the island. You two should leave quickly. Don't get involved with me. Huh. Don't joke around. Our troops are up ahead holding the line, and we just managed to escape here. Without the protection of our troops, we definitely won't make it to the coastline. Jiang Shaoqing, swallowing a large piece of meat, added, Commoner, hurry and let your troops protect our retreat. I will ensure that city leaders come to your home to commend you. Once we reach the coast, we can hide, and in 2 days, my father, Commander Yan Huang, will definitely bring the army over to wipe out the opposition. What kind of joke is that? At this point, they were still trying to act tough in front of Su Bai. Fortunately, Su Bai wasn't particularly fond of showing off either and didn't care much about Jiang Shaoqing's words. If you're not leaving, then hurry up and go. Don't bother us. The two exchanged glances. Where could they escape to? The Penglai Fairy Island was so vast. Every time they entered a dungeon, the rising fairy mist created a massive war fog, making it impossible to map the area. Moreover, with so many troops around Su Bai, not only ranged ones, but also some oddly shaped units, it was daunting. Su Bai had previously demonstrated his extraordinary strength, and without his protection, they definitely wouldn't be able to escape. Alright, let's stick together, and no one separates. Get lost. We'll pay more. 10 million. Fine, but I want it in dollars. After negotiating the price, the two began to bandage their wounds and eat some food along with recovery potions, slowly regaining their strength. Meanwhile, Su Bai's troops started to mobilize. A fully upgraded level 3 Rhino tank stood at the forefront, its cannon elevated, aiming at the giant python on the mountain. Su Bai used a detection badge to gather information. Fat E. Level, LV27, Strength, 180, Agility, 60, Defense, 45, Health, 80,000, Skills, Corrosive Acid. Siphon, Note, Corrosive Acid deals poison damage in a 530 square meter area in front, with a base attack of 150. Cooldown 30 seconds. Note, Siphon allows the giant python to unleash a force that randomly devours 5 enemy targets, instantly killing them. It was indeed a powerful boss, with dual skills and a substantial health pool. Moreover, the creature coiled among the mountains, clearly holding a geographical advantage. Unlike the last time when Su Bai could lure the boss into a valley to wear it down, this time it would be a tough battle. However, when brave warriors meet on a narrow path, victory goes to the bold. If they're not fighting a boss, what are they even doing here? As a depleted uranium shell struck the giant python's abdomen, the battle was fully ignited. In the front line, the undead army with less than 3 hours of lifespan crazily climbed the rocks, especially the ninja hounds and toad spirits, who moved swiftly as if the mountain terrain was flat, leaping to the side of the giant snake in just a few jumps. The toads began throwing their tridents, while the ninja hounds lunged and tore at it. The giant snake exhaled a cloud of toxic mist, enveloping the frontline soldiers. The mist was highly poisonous and could corrode the skin of living beings. Within 10 seconds, a large number of soldiers fell to the ground, and this time, it was truly fatal. With a flick of its tail, a dozen wooden figures releasing thorny vines were blown away, tumbling down the mountain. Then came another siphon, consuming several undead soldiers. Indeed, this was the boss from the fairyland, and its power was quite impressive. With just a wave of its hand, it took down dozens of high-level soldiers. Fortunately, these soldiers were undead. Even without attacking, their lifespan had only about 2.5 hours left. Whether they lived or died made no difference. However, they provided significant cover for the ranged units in the backline, ensuring the Rhino tanks and mobilizers suffered minimal losses. The Tier 3 Rhino tanks fired armor-piercing shells frequently, creating small mushroom clouds in the mountains. Anyone unaware, looking from a distance, might have thought mushrooms were growing on the mountain. Rocks shattered and collapsed. The entire mountain seemed on the verge of crumbling under the assault of the rhino tanks. Jiang Shaoqing and Zhuge Ping'an watched this scene. Their faces pale, unable to believe their eyes. How could Su Bai's strength have increased so much compared to before? Was there really a master among the common people? Just as they marveled at Su Bai's power, the fierce artillery fire had already leveled the mountaintop by 5 meters. Debris and stones were flying everywhere. Even the formidable giant snake could only howl in pain against the assault of depleted uranium armor-piercing rounds. Realizing it was outmatched, it thrashed its 2 tails, flinging a few hounds away, preparing to escape. You won't get away. With that, 10 terrifying robots chased after it. The slender 6 legs walked effortlessly through the rubble. After Su Bai's research, it was found that types of units like the terrifying robots, which couldn't damage buildings, also couldn't be upgraded and had no ranged attack capabilities. Their direct assault was rather lacking. However, for pursuing the defeated enemy after breaking through, deploying them was the best use. They could be likened to cavalry in ancient times. When the infantry on the front line defeated the enemy and caused a rout, the cavalry's speed advantage would come into play. Chasing down the fleeing enemy was as easy as cutting vegetables. Similarly, the terrifying robots operated on this principle. A snake tail crushed 2 terrifying robots, while the remaining 8 simultaneously unsheathed several spikes, diving into the flesh wounds torn apart by the rhino tanks' depleted uranium rounds. Without the outer skin for defense, the damage inflicted by the terrifying robots was monstrous. They burrowed into the flesh, launching frenzied attacks, mostly dealing critical damage. With a scream from the giant snake, its head fell to the ground, kicking up a cloud of dust, which then transformed into experience points, entering Su Bai's body. Meanwhile, Jiang Shaoqing and Zhuge Fengyun stared in disbelief. The 4 of them were splitting experience points. Each person could receive 30,000 experience. This giant snake was incredible. Gained, Bronze Tiger Talisman. Gained, Golden Treasure Chest. Su Bai quickly searched through the spoils and found a Bronze Tiger Talisman. After using it, the total number of units he could carry would double. Wow, this is a huge gain. Before coming here, Su Bai had heard Director Kai mention that he should pay attention to items from the Isle of Penglai. The monsters there might drop a rare item called the Bronze Tiger Talisman. He never expected to get it himself. Wow, Su Bai, you actually got the Bronze Tiger Talisman. Your luck is amazing. Qi Tian exclaimed excitedly, clapping her hands and unable to resist giving Su Bai a couple of kisses on the cheek. Zhuge Fengyun looked on with envy. How could Su Bai be so lucky to obtain the Bronze Tiger Talisman? If his troops hadn't been wiped out, he could have surrounded the giant snake with his unique troops and slowly worn it down without any problem. Why was his luck not as good as Su Bai's? Next to him, Jiang Shaoqing was even more filled with envy and jealousy, his eyes turning red. The goddess he adored, Qi Tian, actually liked this commoner. What was he lacking? He was handsome, had money, and his family had status. He could provide everything for her. So why? Why wouldn't she agree to date him? What was he inferior in? This was like a beautiful swan flying into the mouth of a toad. Such a waste. And now, this toad was so lucky to have obtained the Bronze Tiger Talisman. Damn it. Su Bai, my father works in the cabinet with Zhuge Shenxiao, dealing with military affairs. Can we not know each other? Jiang Shaoqing scoffed, dismissing it. Just this Bronze Tiger Talisman was hard to come by even with money. Zhuge Fengyun was shamelessly asking Su Bai for it, really thinking that face mattered. The next moment, Su Bai opened a golden treasure chest. Gained, Bronze Tiger Talisman, one-time item. After use, you will gain the title of Bronze Warrior, and the number of troops you can carry will double. Rare item. Another one. Su Bai shook his head, realizing that having duplicate equipment was not useful. Here, Qi Tian, you can have it. I don't want it. My dad said that matters of being a soldier and fighting don't concern me. This item won't be of any use to me. That makes sense. Wow. Su Bai, you actually got another Bronze Tiger Talisman. Why is life so unfair? Jiang Shaoqing's eyes were nearly popping out. The other party has 2 tiger tokens. They should sell one to themselves, right? He cleared his throat. Brother Su Bai, let me reintroduce myself. I am Jiang Shaoqing, and my father is stationed at the Northern Pass as the commander of the Yanhuang Division. As fellow wanderers who have ended up on this island, we truly share a deep bond. I see you are both brave and skilled. It would be perfect for you to receive a military rank from my father. Subsequently, his gaze shifted to the bronze token in Su Bai's hand. Beside them, Zhuge Fengyun clicked his tongue, thinking Su Bai truly was a person of fortune. But Jiang Shaoqing was quite shameless. Previously, he had repeatedly mentioned Su Bai's rural background, hoping to win over Qi Tian, a city girl. Now, he was lowering himself to seek Su Bai's tiger token. Ah, I see. Su Bai casually brushed off the dust from his shoulder. The insignia of a marshal became visible. Under the sunlight, the golden patterns shone brilliantly. Jiang Shaoqing was completely taken aback, unable to believe that this commoner had a marshal's insignia. His mouth fell open in shock. Was this really a commoner? Zhuge Fengyun chuckled softly. Jiang Shaoqing thought that by having his father grant some position, Su Bai would willingly give him the tiger token. Little did he know that Su Bai held a marshal's insignia. Anyone wearing such insignia, when applying to a private security company, would at least be offered a position equivalent to a regiment leader. Even for a civil service job, the starting rank would be that of a company commander. The best his father could arrange would be a company commander rank at most. Would Su Bai even consider that? It was quite naive of him. Chapter 75. The Military Token. Selling the bronze military token to the highest bidder. Seeing Jiang Shaoqing at a loss, Zhuge Fengyun rubbed the jade ring on his hand. It was an extremely precious storage ring, with an interior space of about 100 square meters. He selected an ancient sword from inside, holding it with both hands. Ha! Brother Su Bai, I present this sword to a hero. Would you consider trading one of your military tokens for this 7-star Longyuan sword? As he spoke, Zhuge Fengyun drew the sword. A cold gleam flashed by. The sword, adorned with 7 gemstones resembling dragon eyes, exuded an innate dominance. This sword was said to be a relic from the time when Cao Cao attempted to assassinate Dong Zhuo, known for its legendary prowess. Each time it killed, the sword would drink the blood of its victims, increasing its attack speed by 5. After slaying 7, the attack speed would surge to 35. With an attack attribute of 80, it was already on the threshold of being a relic. Zhuge Fengyun showcased the power of his formidable weapon. As heirs of prestigious families, each of them carried numerous rare treasures, constantly displaying their nobility. This sword, however, Zhuge Fengyun had never used to kill anyone. They were just a group of wealthy heirs going out to find beautiful women and show off a bit. It was too precious to waste. Oh, I see. Su Bai nodded lightly, not commenting further. He simply took out his Browning and wiped it down. Zhuge Fengyun was instantly stunned. He rubbed his eyes, unable to open them due to the dazzling silver light before him. This. Jiang Shaoqing beside him blurted out. Holy relic. Can you let me see the attributes of that item? Zhuge Fengyun's voice changed. Su Bai was generous and casually displayed it. Attack power, 300 to 800. Looking at the weapon in his hand with only 80 attack power, it felt utterly useless, like scrap. The two were genuinely shocked. Who exactly was this Su Bai? How could he possess such a divine artifact? But just then, an even more ostentatious thing happened. Su Bai took out the book Fenglin Shanhua and used it as a fan to cool himself down. The weather on this island is really hot. The titanium alloy eyes of both men shattered. Another holy relic. Su Bai was actually using it as a fan. How precious was that thing? Such a waste. Such a waste. The man before them casually wielded a holy relic. It seemed that presenting ordinary treasures would not satisfy the other party's expectations. Jiang Shaoqing kept calculating in his mind. He indeed had valuable items, but they were in his father's possession. He had to go home to get them. At his home, his father's Dragon Slayer sword was also a holy relic. Sneaking that out should be no problem for exchanging a military token with Su Bai. But would the other party agree to a verbal transaction now? Just as Jiang Shaoqing hesitated, Zhuge Fengyun could no longer remain calm. Brother Su Bai, I am willing to exchange my 100-square jade ring and its contents just for 1 military token from you. What do you think? A 100-square jade ring was also a rare treasure in the world. The ring Su Bai was wearing was indeed too small, only capable of holding a few pieces of equipment. If he had the other party's item, then the excess equipment wouldn't have to be left on the ground. Moreover, the other party mentioned that the contents inside would also be given to him. Let me see what you have in the jade ring first. Su Bai agreed. He entered the other's space and took a look around. There were quite a few healing potions, and they were all very high grade. Additionally, there were actually 60,000 gold coins. Su Bai was particularly short on money. Most importantly, now that he had established a radar, the amount required to unlock the exclusive national troops was even higher. And there was also that 7 stars Dragon Abyss. The remaining items are various health products, including a certain type of enhancement, balloons, inflatable mattresses, and a series of props like a double-headed dragon. This guy seems to be quite extravagant. The most ridiculous part is that he found 2 gag balls from within that space. What is more important is that these 2 gag balls are surprisingly similar to the Earth Spirit Pearls that Su Bai obtained earlier, with Spirit Pearls and Wind Spirit Pearls. Damn, those from wealthy families really have some strange tastes, using such rare treasures as props. Su Bai sighed, feeling that being rich is truly wonderful. Su Bai, how about it? My space is quite large, right? Zhuge Fengyun felt a bit awkward, as his collection had been seen by the other party. He had forgotten to transfer the items out first in the heat of the moment. All right, it's a deal. The 2 sides exchanged items. Subsequently, Su Bai took out the 2 gag balls. Jiang Shaoqing, Zhuge Fengyun, Qi Tiantian. Brother, isn't this a bit awkward? If you want to know how to use them, just ask me privately. There are too many people around now. Su Bai ignored him and directly took out the melting magic box. Sure enough, the wind, forest, mountain, fire reacted with the wind spirit pearl and with spirit pearl, proving that the three can be fused together. The wind spirit pearl and with spirit pearl each enhance attributes by 10 points, which Zhuge Fengyun had painstakingly obtained. He had intended to strengthen his son. But this ungrateful thing turned these two pearls into gag balls for playing with women. After all, those from wealthy families seek thrills. As the brilliant light merged, the fusion of the three was completed. Wind, forest, mountain, fire, relic, attributes. Increases the movement speed of all troops by 25, recovery speed by 25, attack speed by 5, and death rebound by 500, effect range, 10 kilometers radius around the bearer. The wind spirit pearl and with spirit pearl fused into the wind, forest, mountain, fire. The original movement speed of 5 directly increased to 25, and the recovery speed also rose from 5 to 25. This means that troop movement speed is accelerated, and recovery during rest is enhanced, essentially saving on maintenance. Incredible. Wow. Subai, you're amazing. You actually knew that these three could be fused. This relic looks so powerful now. Hee hee, I'll stick with you for experience for life. Don't find me annoying. Subai chuckled and playfully tapped Qi Tiantian's nose. Look at how impressive you are. Meanwhile, Zhuge Fengyun and Jiang Shaoqing were dumbfounded. They couldn't believe that these three could be fused, and the attributes boosted after fusion were far stronger than their previous paltry attributes, by at least 10 or 8 times. This is an extremely powerful item for commanding troops in battle. Damn it, why don't I have one? However, Zhuge Fengyun was not that disappointed after all. He didn't have the sacred relic of wind, forest, mountain, and fire. The wind spirit pearl and with spirit could only enhance part of his strength. Now, his troops could double in strength. They were ready to take off. Meanwhile, Jiang Shaoqing was grinding his teeth in frustration. He didn't obtain the bronze tiger talisman. Subai had become even more formidable. His Qi Tiantian still loved him deeply. The resentment and anger in his heart were growing stronger. Subai, I will defeat you. I will take back my Qi Tiantian. Chapter 76. The Radiant Engineer appears. The Green Cemetery is about to be unveiled, having obtained the bronze military talisman. Zhuge Fengyun wanted to immediately showcase his might. Unfortunately, although he had used healing medicine and his physical injuries had mostly recovered, his spirit was already exhausted. He couldn't muster a few soldiers at all. At this moment, Subai's radar suddenly emitted a warning. It seemed that the light from the synthesis of the sacred relic had attracted the enemy's attention, and they were all heading toward this location. So, should he use this military talisman now? Subai still chose not to use it for the time being, because once used, he would have to continuously summon troops. And without sufficient funds, it would be equivalent to 0. It was better to first use the current troop scale and engage the enemy in a defensive battle. He patted Qi Tiantian's shoulder and said, "Let's go, get in the vehicle." Where to? The enemy troops are approaching, we need to set up the battlefield. Upon hearing the news of the enemy, the other two felt their legs go weak. They saw Subai driving an anti-aircraft tracked vehicle toward the forest near the mountain. The two didn't care about their weak legs and chased after him. This area was between mountains. Due to Subai's previous overwhelming firepower, the mountains had collapsed, forming a gourd-shaped terrain. The high ground was on a plain, while the low ground was open. There was a necessary slope connecting the two. Occupying advantageous terrain is a principle of military strategy. The remaining task was to arrange the troops. Subai planned to place the mobilized soldiers and heavy infantry in the front, with the rhino tanks at the back, using cheaper troops to absorb firepower, while the level 3 rhino tanks would focus on output. Soon, the mountains were filled with enemy troops, dark and dense. Chief, according to reliable information, not only are the sons of the Yanhuang commander and Zhuge Shen's son here, but even the murderer of the holy prince, Subai, is also here. Haha, heaven is assisting me. Killing these three, I can go back and report to the emperor. And our IGA family will rise to become one of the 4 major Sakura families. All troops, obey orders. Attack. With the sound of a horn, the enemy began to besiege the high ground where Subai was located, and Subai issued the order to open fire. At the entrance, like a shower of meteors, fiery attacks rained down on the enemies below the mountain. Blood splattered everywhere, and the ground was riddled with bullet holes. Small mushroom clouds rose into the sky. Zhuge Fengyun clapped his hands and exclaimed, "Good." However, from a distance, the sound of countless drumbeats surged forth. Nearby, the call of battle echoed. The rear-line double-headed ninjas joined together to form hand seals on the ground. Boom, 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 dust flew everywhere. Small gates shot up from the ground, blocking much of Subai's firepower. Subsequently, these double-headed ninjas advanced forward, holding iron shields. The commanders in the back were filled with excitement. They had won. They had triumphed. The spider troops followed. Ghostchild Maru, prepare long-range support with the condensed golden spider silk. Behind the double-headed ninjas, the half-human, half-spider troops began to secrete silk. This silk immediately solidified into a metallic amber-like substance upon contact with air. Draw the bow fully. Prepare for a round of projectiles. Subai's soldiers had no effective means to evade the projectile attacks, especially the mobilized troops. When their firepower could not suppress the enemy, they became easy targets. Indeed, this elite force was not only numerous, but also well-coordinated. Jiang Shaoqing trembled in fear. His cavalry had been crushed by the enemy in this manner. Subai snapped his fingers. Fearsome robots. Advance. From the flanks of the forest, several fearsome robots marched forward without hesitation. They crashed into the half-human, half-spider troops of Ghost Child Maru, who were preparing to launch their projectiles. This surprise attack caught the IGA ninja troops off guard. They had thought that facing such a massive army, merely being able to defend without surrendering was a tremendous feat. Little did they expect an ambush. Instantly, the human spider army appeared feeble against the mechanical spider army. The sharp forelimbs pierced through the spiders' abdomens. While the projectiles of this ranged unit were quite lethal, their close combat capabilities were lacking. For the fearsome robots, it was merely a matter of taking them down one by one. The targets were large and their reactions slow. However, Subai, watching from a distance, knew that although the ambush was effective, it was insignificant against an enemy force 10 times larger. Therefore, Subai commanded the fearsome robots to primarily attack the commanders at the front line. A few spiders evaded the enemy's attacks, sneaking up to several commanders like cunning foxes. They struck swiftly. The ground was soon soaked with fresh blood and entrails. Some soldiers betrayed their comrades on the spot. The fearsome robots, enhanced by the passive skill, killing intent, gained speed with each soldier they killed. The more they killed, the faster they became, moving with increasing agility. It seems that the situation is beginning to tilt in favor of Subai. Jiro quickly used the earth shield for defense. In the distance, a group of large and peculiar figures formed hand seals. The ground trembled as earthen walls rose up around them, isolating the terrifying robots and the rebel troops within. Subai was somewhat dumbfounded. This group was indeed elite among elites, even having specialized forces for city construction. The enemy had defenses in front, causing minimal damage to them, while behind, there were dedicated troops for building fortifications and long-range units. Now, even if more troops were deployed, it seemed impossible to hold them back. Surrender. Let them know our identity. Perhaps due to our noble status, they might spare us, Jiang Shaoqing expressed helplessly. He felt particularly conflicted, hoping that Subai would win, yet not wanting him to win completely. Ideally, both sides would suffer heavy losses, still using the remaining energy to reap victory. Subai turned and gave Jiang Shaoqing a fierce glare. You're disturbing the morale of our troops. If you do it again, I'll take you down with them. His eyes glinted with menace, clearly not joking. Jiang Shaoqing gritted his teeth, feeling powerless. His own energy hadn't recovered, and he simply didn't have as many troops as Subai, making it difficult to stand firm. After calming down, Subai realized he might have to resort to that tactic. That was the radiation engineering troops. He had always been hesitant to use this type of unit because of their overwhelming power, which could also backfire on him. But now, he felt that apart from this option, only superweapons like a nuclear bomb or Iron Curtain could turn the tide. So, he decided to unlock the radiation engineering troops without further thought. 60,000 gold coins vanished, and the 10 million reward was almost spent completely. Radiation engineering troops. Activate. Heavy breathing was heard as the radiation engineers, clad in protective suits and carrying radiation detectors, stepped forward before Subai. The radiation engineers were ready. Subai nodded. Next, he would let this group know the terror of the Green Hell. Chapter 77. V3 Rocket Launcher arrives. The peculiar figures turned into green water as the Silver Tiger talisman erupted. Four ox carts led the way, continuously absorbing the attacks from the enemy's ranged units. Behind, the radiation engineers steadily advanced with heavy reactor instruments. Spread destruction. Subai immediately ordered his main forces to retreat, knowing that the Death Oasis would soon be unleashed. Thanks to the recently upgraded relic in his possession, the wind, forest, fire, and mountain, the heavy radiation engineers and ox carts moved 14 times faster. They acted swiftly, driving the heavy instruments into the ground. The shining green radioactive liquid began to spread. The Geiger counter inside was rapidly spiking. The high and low passageways had already been occupied by radiation engineers. A green, omnipresent death oasis ravaged and polluted the land. The ox cart in the front row was already emitting smoke. Suddenly, screams echoed. Countless defensive ninjas in the front row began to slowly dissolve, their bodies turning green and becoming a puddle of green water, transforming into a source of infectious radioactive sludge. The radiation came too quickly, catching all soldiers off guard. Whether it was the troops with absolute defense or the humanoid spider warriors in the back, even the engineers capable of building defensive walls, all were equal under the radiation. Their bodies continuously crumbled, blood oozing from all orifices. In death, they turned into green water. This method of dying was truly terrifying. Several commanders in the front line who were responsible for directing the troops also became contaminated by the radiation. Seeing the abnormality, they immediately tried to retreat. However, their cells were damaged by the contaminated radiation layer of the land. Soon, they became stiff and lifeless, unable to regenerate. Their legs gave way, and they collapsed to the ground. Subsequently, their internal organs began to decay, leaving them unable to close their eyes in death. The leader of the IGA clan, IGA Nami, crossed her arms and frowned. How could it be possible? A significant portion of her troops had perished so easily. She carefully observed the battlefield ahead. Green. The ground was covered in green. Could it be that the green is toxic? The enemy's troops are releasing poisonous gas. What terrifying power is this? IGA Nami was a powerful figure with a silver talisman. The scale on her chest was as large as the number of soldiers within her. Yet, in front of that young man, Su Bai, she was utterly defenseless. Quickly command the Keto Maru troops to shoot at those soldiers releasing poisonous gas. The remaining ranged troops quickly assembled, braving the radiation danger, and launched golden crossbow arrows. The arrows struck the green radioactive land like golden wheat sown in a green field. A bountiful harvest. After shooting these arrows, the Keto Maru troops also perished, turning into green water. Meanwhile, the radiation engineers on the opposite side, although some were injured, had the ability to regenerate after deployment. Plus, they received a 25 healing boost from Su by Fomlin Huashan's relics. Damn. Retreat. A powerful figure with a silver soldier talisman, capable of summoning thousands of soldiers, had actually been defeated by a troop of less than 200. The humiliation of this magnitude was vividly reflected in her physique. Throughout her life, she had never faced defeat, but today she fully experienced shame. Bang, 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 bang. Hundreds of smoke bombs were thrown, obscuring the vision. Leading the main forces, they began to retreat. Yiganami felt a sense of relief. Fortunately, the terrifying troops on the opposing side moved much slower than her ninja forces. With about 80% of her troops remaining, they should be able to survive. At worst, it would be a failed assassination, and there wouldn't be too severe a punishment. However, in the next moment, despair struck her. From all directions, north, south, east, and west, the land turned green. Radiation had completely surrounded them. At that moment, Yiganami was still unclear how they had fallen into the encirclement. In fact, the battlefield had returned to Su Bai's control the moment the radiation engineers were produced. He not only deployed several radiation engineers at the front lines, but also used anti-aircraft vehicles to transport a few radiation engineers around to hide in the enemy's vicinity, waiting to encircle them when they retreated. After all, Su Bai had radar, and he could see the nearby terrain clearly, just as Su Bai had anticipated. After the enemy experienced the first wave of radiation, they could no longer endure. Now, these people had nowhere to escape. Today, this place is your green grave. Radiation engineers. Advance 5 meters. Deploy. Hearing the command, the radiation engineers lifted their small reactors and moved forward 5 meters, then deployed again. The green radiation zone shrank by another 5 meters. Yiganami could only command her soldiers to retreat continuously while raising a white flag. We surrender. Sorry, I don't take prisoners. Amid the cries of despair, the powerful figure in silver armor and his ninja commander perished in a valley on Pronglai Island. In the end, Yiganami's last scream echoed. Su Bai, I will not spare you even in death. Summon beast. Ape demon. As the smoke cleared, a giant gorilla, as tall as a small mountain, beat its chest and roared. At this moment, its master was already dead, and without the restraint of its owner. It immediately turned against them, hurling massive stones as attacks. Radiation engineers. Forward. A giant stone crushed a radiation engineer on the spot. This woman had indeed kept a trump card. Although she knew she couldn't escape, she hoped that the hero she summoned in her last moments could take down a few more of Su Bai's troops. The Rhino tank opened fire as the ape demon leaped into action. Bang! The tank was crushed. Impressive. Retreat to a safe position. This guy isn't very quick, but his health is substantial. He actually managed to withstand so many attacks from Su Bai. It seems it's his turn to take the stage. A bright light appeared in his chest. The 2v3 rocket launchers that had been used in Su Bai's arsenal finally revealed their true form. Originally, in battles against large enemy forces, showing such a powerful weapon would definitely attract their attention. But now, he was dealing with a neutral unit. Without a commander to direct them, they would just attack randomly. Rockets. Launch. The truck halted, and a massive rocket stood upright on its back. Intense airflow erupted from the tail. Waves of gas surged, and the rocket was released. When it flew next to the giant ape, surprisingly, it was caught by the giant's big hand. Su Bai felt a bit of a headache. Damn, was his powerful weapon ineffective? But the next second, the V3 rocket exploded in the giant ape's hand. Shrapnel shot out, piercing its eyes. The giant ape let out several painful screams, and a few of its fingers were broken. It flailed helplessly in the air. Subai breathed a sigh of relief. It turned out he was overthinking. Then, another missile was launched from the V3 rocket launcher. Boom. This one hit the giant ape's shoulder. The shockwave was blinding. A thick arm was blown off on the spot. Then came another shot. This time it directly struck the chest, creating a gaping hole the size of a truck. The giant ape's health bar emptied, and it collapsed to the ground. The vegetation, buildings, and trees on the island exploded. A large area of scorched earth remained. So powerful. The V3 rocket was truly formidable. 3 shots to take down a giant beast. After the giant ape's demise, a silver tiger talisman belonging to its original master burst forth. Subai held it in his hand, somewhat in disbelief. He had obtained another talisman, and it was a higher-grade silver talisman compared to the bronze one he had. Chapter 78. Magnetic Storm Coil, Thunderous Might, Dragon-Slaying Sword. Click to claim hand over the silver talisman. Just as Subai got it in his hands, from a distance, Jiang Shaoqing rode his steed, wielding a silver spear, charging over with dozens of elite cavalry behind him. Subai sidestepped to avoid him. What? You want to kill and steal the treasure? You're just an ordinary person. What difference would it make to kill you? My father is the commander of the Yanhuang. This guy was indeed a bit clever. Taking advantage of his main force still being at the mountaintop, with only a few mobilized soldiers nearby, he prepared to seize the silver talisman. Die! A flash of cold light, and then the spear shot out like a dragon. The speed was astonishing. The mobilized soldier was pierced through, and Jiang Shaoqing sneered coldly. His elite cavalry had the ability to accelerate by 300 in a short time. From his observation, the weakest unit in Subai's hands was his mobilized soldier. Although they had strong attack power and speed, his elven cavalry moved even faster. If you can't keep up, how can you fight me? In the next moment, the sound of metal clashing echoed as Subai's weapon blocked a silver spear that was thrust toward him. A crisp sound rang out as the silver spear was deflected back, causing Jiang Shaoqing's arm to go numb. The spear was surprisingly knocked out of his grasp, and a flicker of panic crossed his eyes. How could this guy, as a commander, have such strong physical capabilities? Subai had already charged close, brandishing his weapon with a sweeping motion, cutting off the front leg of Jiang Shaoqing's horse. The horse stumbled, and Jiang Shaoqing fell to the ground. Subai aimed for his throat and shouted, "Die! It doesn't matter if you are a royal relative or a general with military power. Offending me means death." Just then, a flash of fire sparked as the weapon was knocked away. In front of Subai stood a sturdy man wielding a giant sword, shielding Jiang Shaoqing behind him. "Dad, you finally made it." This man not only took the silver military token that Subai had obtained, but also intended to kill him to silence him. The giant sword was resting on his shoulder as he looked down on Subai. "Are you the assassin sent by the little ones? Trying to harm my son's life?" There was no need to say more. This was undoubtedly Jiang Shaoqing's father, Commander Yanhuang. He had rushed over after receiving a distress signal. "Dad, use your Dragon Slayer sword to kill him." Subai's eyes widened in anger. "Jiang Shaoqing, you're spitting blood. If I hadn't saved you back then, you would have already been killed by those little devils. Now you want to kill and rob. Is it because the matter has been exposed that you want your father to silence me?" Commander Yanhuang was taken aback. It could be possible, but after all, he was still his son. If he had arrived just a moment later, his son's life would have been in jeopardy. For this reason alone, Subai had to die. "Kid, I am not a judge. I only saw you trying to harm my son. You must die." A gust of wind swept through as Commander Yanhuang swung the Dragon Slayer sword at Subai. Subai barely dodged, rolling backward and picking up the fallen weapon from the ground. With a sudden thrust, Subai felt as if he had been struck by a heavy hammer. An explosion occurred within his body, as if a bunker had detonated. Damn it, this attack power is at least 500 points. Unfortunately, he didn't have time to load his Browning. Otherwise, the commander would be executed by his own men. A strong gust of wind rushed towards him. Death. The fierce wind swept past, raising clouds of dust. 8 Gates of Duanjia. At the same time, Subai activated a disposable item, the 8 Gates of Duanjia, that he had obtained from the fallen ninja. Instantly, his overall speed increased. He dodged an attack from his opponent, sliding behind him and striking down with his large knife. Clang! The dragon-slaying blade blocked the attack. But this time, it was not Subai's weapon that was knocked away. Instead, the commander was paralyzed all over, and the dragon-slaying blade fell from his hands. "Kid, what trick are you using?" Subai picked up the commander's dragon-slaying blade, the magnetic burst coil. I wonder if the commander has ever experienced it. Just now, realizing that he was outmatched, Subai immediately constructed the magnetic burst coil for defense. Now, Subai's basic attack power had increased by another 150 points, and his strikes also carried an electric paralysis effect. That's why the commander fell for it. "Today," Subai sneered. "Want to kill me? You and your father can go to hell together." However, Subai was a bit naive. The commander roared like a lion. A golden-haired lion king, A heavenly white elephant and a golden eagle burst forth from his chest. They attacked Subai like a whirlwind. The speed of the opposing troops was as fast as lightning, and several mobilized soldiers were instantly torn apart. Hit, die, from all directions. They surged towards Subai like a drilling machine, leaving him nowhere to hide. Who dares to act recklessly? Suddenly, a thunderous roar echoed. The mountains and fields were filled with divine soldiers. From among them, a fierce figure descended, blocking the commander's attack. Behind him, the war god Li Yunlong stood with his hands behind his back. Ridiculous. As a general, you actually attack a civilian. The one who arrived was none other than the war god Li Yunlong, accompanied by thousands of summoned warriors from the deer hunting battle. These were the legendary divine soldiers sent by the Yellow Emperor during the battle against Qi Yu in the Central Plains. They were among the most formidable in the Dragon Country. Li Yunlong, this guy wants to kill my son. Why shouldn't I kill him? Beside him, Zhang Dapio shouted. Watch your mouth. Although General Yunlong is retired, he is not someone like you can provoke. The commander was caught off guard by the rebuke. There was nothing he could do. Even though General Li Yunlong was retired, his subordinates were battling across the country and many held important positions in the military. Even the commander himself was less trusted than Li Yunlong by many. Old general, what do you think should be done? My son is in trouble. Shouldn't a father take action? At that moment, a man in his 50s walked up behind Li Yunlong. The commander was taken aback and immediately saluted. Third elder, what brings you here? How did I get here? Of course, it's a return to my homeland. And it's quite emotional to declare our nation's sovereignty upon landing on the island. Additionally, regarding that young man who allegedly wanted to harm your son, shouldn't we investigate the matter first? The third elder is the chief elder responsible for national defense and external military affairs in the Dragon Nation. In the Dragon Nation, there are 12 elders, each overseeing their respective domains, ensuring the country's management is orderly. Qi Tiantian and Zhuge Fengyun were called over. In front of the third elder, they dared not speak recklessly and recounted the events that had just transpired in detail. The commander of Yanhuang looked at his son with disappointment and gave him a stern reprimand. Jiang Shaoqing's face was covered in blood, looking quite disheveled. Afterward, the commander of Yanhuang clasped his fists and apologized to Su Bai, admitting his rashness and offering the legendary dragon-slaying sword as a token of apology. Asking if that was acceptable, Su Bai nodded. He wasn't arrogant enough to think he could kill a regional commander in front of the third elder, though perhaps he would have that courage in the future. Chapter 79. The army presses in. Urgent news from the northeast, counting the infantry and rushing to aid. Li Yunlong informed Su Bai that he and the third elder had gone to Palai Island to declare sovereignty. Upon arriving, they discovered some of the commander of Yanhuang's troops. His subordinates informed them that there were assassins from a rival faction on the island attacking Jiang Shaoqing. When everyone arrived, they were shocked to find that the commander of Yanhuang intended to harm Su Bai. The sovereignty of the entire island had been won back by Su Bai. So what did it mean to attempt to kill him? Eventually, through the accounts of Zhuge Fengyun and Qi Tiantian, everyone understood that Jiang Shaoqing had been consumed by greed. His beloved was taken by Su Bai, and upon seeing Su Bai gain the silver talisman, his resentment transformed into murderous intent, leading him to plot theft and murder. This was indeed a vile act. Hence, the commander of Yanhuang offered his sacred relic, the dragon-slaying sword, as a gift of apology. This item was of astronomical value and had extraordinary attributes. However, Su Bai preferred not to engage in close combat. The sentry cannon and magnetic explosion coil he carried were merely for defense. He favored the feeling of commanding large armies in battle. The third elder approached Su Bai, scrutinizing the young man closely. With tiger-like eyes and eagle-like brows, he exuded a remarkable aura, truly a talent akin to Sun Zhoumo. Even in the face of the formidable commander of Yanhuang, he showed no fear. The third elder silently praised him. Realizing that the marshal's insignia he had personally conferred upon him was indeed a gem not to be tarnished. Seeing the third elder, Su Bai felt a surge of excitement. This was the commander overseeing the nation's military authority, a pivotal figure in strengthening national defense. The third elder chuckled, "Young man, don't be nervous. I'm not going to eat you." As he stroked his beard and smiled, a secretary rushed over from behind, whispering a few urgent words in his ear. The third elder furrowed his brow. "Is that so?" "Understood. Commander Yanhuang, return to the border immediately. There's enemy activity. It's not your father's fault for your lack of training. We'll deal with your punishment later." "Yes." Su Bai was puzzled. The Dragon Nation hadn't been at war for many years and maintained harmonious relations with neighboring countries. How could there be conflict at the border? "Third elder, what has happened?" Without concealment, the third elder explained, "A few days ago, in the northern region of the Dragon Nation, workers from a neighboring country accidentally unearthed a hidden underground dungeon while mining for resources. Countless prehistoric skeleton armies surged out, attacking in all directions. However, at the same time, The neighboring country was engaged in a conflict with their western neighbor and had no time to deal with these skeletons. Plus, the Siberian region is sparsely populated. They wouldn't be affected by the chaos. Instead, it's our northeastern region that has become the target for the skeleton armies. They have now reached the key stronghold at Shenyang, but the commander responsible for defending it was away looking for his son, creating a mess in the battle. Upon hearing this, Su Bai's brow furrowed as well. He immediately volunteered to support Shenyang. The third elder agreed on the spot, stating, such a heroic individual should not be wasted away from the battlefield. Meanwhile, Jiang Shaoqing, who was kneeling and rubbing his face, gritted his teeth in frustration. That lucky dog Su Bai found a silver tiger talisman. If I had